Chapter 824. Seeing that it was snowing heavily, in order to give Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan more time to prepare, Li Longji chose to take the waterway after traveling for a while. He wanted to let the people who followed him know what it meant to break the ice. A series of muffled explosions resounded on both sides of the canal. The ship with a thick iron plate at the bow crushed the ice along the way. When the sound of ice shattering reached the ears of the people following Li Longji, the expressions of those who were prepared to see a joke finally changed. Coming out of the cabin, Zuzan picked up the clairvoyant. I lent to him and listened to the explosions in front of the canal. Looking at the big ship rushing all the way across the ice, it would be a lie to say that he was not shocked. The martial arts of the Tang Empire are so powerful. I wonder what will happen on Mount Hua this time. Sigh. Zuzan pressed the hat on his head and felt that the wind was a little weaker. He looked at the people who were watching the explosion on both sides of the canal and the iron cable suspension bridge across the canal and sighed. Princess Jincheng, whose complexion had obviously improved, stood beside Zuzan and looked around softly. When she heard Zuzan's words, she raised her eyebrows slightly and said softly to him, "Zanpu, why don't we go back to Tubo and learn from the situation on the Yellow River here? We can build a few iron cable bridges there to make it convenient for people to travel." "I also want to do that," Zuzan replied to Princess Jincheng. Princess Jincheng did not say anything more. She understood what Zuzan meant. In terms of iron smelting technology, Tubo was not as good as the Tang Empire. Even if they wanted to build an iron cable suspension bridge, there was no suitable iron ring to use. Moreover, it was not easy to find stones to make the pillars of the bridge. Large pieces of copper and iron were not enough to make them. Iron for weapons was even more scarce. As for cement, the Zhang and Wang families did not sell it to outsiders. The cement used in the Tang Empire, even if they paid for it, had to be watched by the people sent by the Zhang family and Wang family before they could build it. Who knew how many people who wanted to get the cement hated the Zhang family and Wang family? A burst of children's laughter attracted Princess Jincheng's attention. She raised her thousandly eyes and saw a group of children flying kites on the southern bank of the canal. It was supposed to be a spring kite, but in the winter, it still made people happy. Taking a closer look, the kite was not made of paper, but pink silk cloth. A large bird that looked like a phoenix was flying in the wind, its long tail swaying gently, adding a touch of gorgeous color to the snowy scenery. A child wearing gorgeous clothes, under the protection of a servant, happily released and retracted the string of a kite. A group of children wearing ordinary clothes surrounded him, clapping their hands, jumping and laughing. After a while, the child, who was obviously from a rich family, stuffed the wire board he was holding into the hands of an ordinary child next to him. Then, he pulled the hand of another ordinary child and laughed together. Don't hate poverty with riches and honor. Children play with kites. The white snow is not cold yet, and the colorful phoenixes fly and warm the world. Princess Jincheng looked, and a gratified smile appeared on her face as she murmured in admiration. When Zuzanqi heard Princess Jincheng's words and saw the children playing on the bank, his face became more and more ugly. He understood that the reason why the children of the rich could play together with the children of ordinary families was not because the children understood unity, but because of the teachings of the adults. The more united the people of the Tang Empire were, and the more harmonious their lives were, the harsher it was for the Tubo people. The children of the Tubo people who had a bit of status would not play with the children of ordinary people. The conflict was intensifying bit by bit, especially when the news of the Tang Empire kept spreading. Many slaves, even if they did not say it out loud, behind their backs, they were discussing when Wang Wan would be able to lead troops to conquer the Tubo people and change their status. This was not a good sign. Otherwise, when war broke out, the people would not have the heart to defend themselves, and the soldiers would not have the will to fight to the death. Who could stop the Tang Empire's cavalry? Who would be willing to use their flesh and blood to fight against the spears of the Tang Empire? Zuzanqi secretly sighed and turned his head to look at Princess Jincheng, whose complexion was obviously better than when she was in the Tubo people. He forced a smile and said to her, "Nunu, have you been playing well at home these few days? Have you seen Wu Hui Fei and Empress Wang? This time, we will stay for a few more days in the Tang Empire. We have to see them often. The wind outside is strong, so let's go back to the cabin to avoid the wind." Princess Jinsheng followed Zuzan Qi into the cabin and served him tea. Then she said to him, "Zuzan Pu, Empress Wang and Zhang Wang have a close relationship. Wu Hui Fei has a lot of complaints, but Empress Wang is in charge of the harem, so there's no big deal." If Princess Jinsheng had a choice, she would not be willing to help Zuzan Qi inquire about this kind of news. However, she had no choice. She could not stay in the Tang Empire forever. She still had to return to the Tubo people. For her, the Tang Empire was better. It was more comfortable to breathe there than in the Tubo people. Although the Tubo people had a clear sky, there were some places where you could not boil an egg. You could only fry it and eat it. The food was much more monotonous. How could it compare to the food in the palace these few days? Zuzan Qi also knew that the food in the Tang Empire was delicious, but he did not pay attention to it at all. When he heard Princess Jinsheng's words, his eyes lit up. He lowered his voice and asked, "Can we let people impeach Empress Wang and Zhang Wang families for conspiring? You understand?" "No." Princess Jinsheng Weiwei shook her head. His Majesty has long known the relationship between Empress Wang and Zhang Wang families. Not only Empress Wang, but other people in the imperial family also have connections with Zhang Wang and Zhang Wang families. It is said that all the memorials to impeach Zhang and Wang families are held by His Majesty and not sent to the Hall of Secretaries. Whenever someone in the imperial court talks about it, other officials will change the topic. "Oh, Zhang Wang and Zhang Wang families are so favored by the emperor?" Zuzan Qi really did not know about the situation inside the imperial court. Did Wu Hui Fei mention how to deal with Zhang Wang and Zhang Wang families? Princess Jinsheng shook her head again. "No, I even asked Zuzan Pu about countermeasures. I heard that Wu Hui Fei has already made a move against Zhang Wang and Zhang Wang families. Every time, it ended in failure. Now, she's just complaining. Perhaps she has other thoughts, but she has not shown them. Then there is no other way." Zuzan Qi muttered unwillingly. "Kill Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan." Princess Jinsheng said, If I could kill the two of them, I would have done it long ago. Let's talk about this later." "Yes, let's talk about it later." Zuzan Qi temporarily dismissed the idea of directly dealing with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. As the boat continued to move forward, Zuzan Qi had other thoughts. He instructed Princess Jinsheng, during this period of time, ask more about the Tang Empire, especially the things that we Tubo spies are unable to come into contact with. For example, how is cement made? Why can the clairvoyants see so far away? How are long guns and short guns made? The stability of Tubo depends on these. "Zuzan Pu, don't worry. I will ask around." Princess Jinsheng agreed very quickly. As for what she was thinking in her heart, Zuzan Qi did not know. The group was still slowly moving towards Huayin County. The journey that originally took 3 days was delayed to around 10 days. In Li Longji's opinion, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan should be ready. After all, the two of them were very capable. While Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were busy at the foot of Baiyun Peak, Xiaobei and a group of people ran to Huayin County's Yamen. The matter of receiving Li Longji's group was from Huazhou Prefecture. The officials of Huayin County were only responsible for following orders and were not very busy. When Xiaobei brought a group of guards to the door, the current county magistrate of Huayin County, Fang Yang, Fang Shiri, personally came out to welcome them. He was afraid that something would happen and he would be caught. All the officials near the capital knew that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family had 9 children. They also knew the extent of the 9 children's power. They could not be targeted by them when the emperor was coming. Fang Yang, who was carefully receiving the guests, thought that nothing would happen, who knew that as soon as they entered the Yamen, Xiaobei looked around and found a problem. "County Magistrate Fang, why don't I see a place specially used to receive the common people? When the common people come, do you want them to wait outside? It's fine in the summer. When it's hot, they can find a cool place to hide." Can they also find a warm place in the winter? Where's the reception fee given by the imperial court every year? Xiaobei did not find a place for the common people to rest and eat. She reached out and pulled Feng Yang's sleeve. She looked up and asked. She blinked her cute big eyes, which made Feng Yang feel depressed. No matter how cute Xiaobei was, she became a demon in Feng Yang's eyes. She touched a sore spot. Was there need to ask? If the annual share was really used on the common people, wouldn't the Yamen lose income? Who didn't need money when they went out to do things? Do you really think that you don't need to worry like the Zhang family? Although he was thinking about it, he couldn't say it out loud. Feng Yang tried to force a smile and replied to Xiaobei, Lord Zhang, you may not know, but there are many people in Huayin County who dislike work. They don't work and only want to live a peaceful life. The Yamen has set up a special reception area for them, so they come to the Yamen to eat and drink. That's why the Yamen removed the reception area. Dislike work? What do you mean? Xiaobei turned to look at Xiaoyuan. They like to live a peaceful life, but don't want to work. They only take and don't give. Xiaoyuan answered. I see. So it's right to not set up a reception place. Xiaobei still looked up at Feng Yang. Feng Yang breathed a sigh of relief. Lord Zhang is right. Then why isn't there such a person in Sanshui County? County Magistrate Feng is an official. Isn't he educating the people to do good and do good things? Instead, he's just a bystander who doesn't do anything. This is called not doing anything. Xiaoyuan, write a memorial and wait for Her Majesty to come. Xiaobei's words scared Feng Yang so much that his heart almost jumped out of his mouth. He looked at the other 8 children's expressions and didn't know what to do. If they really wrote a memorial, he was finished. Who didn't know Her Majesty's attitude towards the 9 children? Not to mention that the Yamen wasn't that clean. Even if it was done well, wouldn't it be able to find a problem if they wanted to investigate? Feng Yang didn't know what to do. The registrar accompanying him was even more scared. There were some problems with his accounts. Although there weren't many discrepancies, once it was found out, it would be a serious crime. At the very least, he would be dismissed. After hearing Xiaobei's suggestion and looking at the 9 children, he felt that no matter how he looked at them, they were very detestable. Why were they so troublesome? Did they not understand the difficulties of the local government? Thinking was thinking, but he still had to say, Lord Zhang, it's not easy to run a county. Just listen to Lord Zhang and immediately set up a room to receive the people. There's no need to write a memorial, right? Xiao Yuan frowned. If the higher-ups investigate, the subordinates will work. If the order is issued early, it will be abolished. Are you guys going against us? Seeing that we're young, we'll just deal with it. How do I know if you guys will continue to remove the place after we leave? Seal the accounts. Let Brother Xiaohai investigate. The registrar didn't expect a group of children to be so difficult to answer correctly. He wanted to bribe them, but then he thought of the business between the Zhang family and Wang family. He wanted to threaten them, but then he thought of the military power of the Zhang family and Wang family. He couldn't advance or retreat. Seeing that they wanted to seal the accounts, his face darkened. The imperial censor can't seal the accounts directly. He can only impeach them. Don't tell me you guys want to overstep your authority? Fine, then we won't seal it. We'll just impeach them directly. Let's wait and see. Xiaobei, why are we still going inside? What, they want to kill us? Let's go and find brother and sister. Xiaoyuan pulled Xiaobei with a cold face and turned to walk outside. Xiaobei was stunned for a moment before she reacted and nodded. That's right. If they don't allow us to seal the accounts, there must be a problem. Impeach them with all your might. I want to see Uncle Emperor personally and talk to him face to face. This is too unreasonable. Feng Yang was dumbfounded and glared at the registrar. The registrar's head buzzed, and his vision turned black. He paused for a few breaths before he recovered. He knew that if he really let Xiaobei and the others leave, he would be finished. He stepped forward excitedly and opened his arms to block Xiaobei and the others. Let's talk nicely. Don't be in a hurry. Let's go inside and talk. Oh no, they want to do something to us. Children's regiment, go and take them down. Xiaobei was worried about how to deal with this matter properly and didn't have a chance. Seeing that someone dared to stop her, she had an excuse. She shouted loudly and looked scared. As soon as Xiaobei shouted, 10 of the most stable children in the children's regiment took out their pistols and aimed at the group of people in the yamen. The people in the yamen all stopped moving. They knew what the other party was holding. Although the yamen had applied for it, the imperial court didn't give it to them. However, they knew the power of this thing very well. It wouldn't be good if it hit them. Oomph, do you think I'm not prepared? I just applied for it from brother and sister. It's just in time. I'll kill whoever dares to touch it. Xiaobei clapped her hands and walked out excitedly. She had a smug look on her face, indicating that she had foresight. The 10 children holding the pistols were more nervous. They had practiced shooting before, but this was the first time they were facing people. They held the pistols tightly with both hands so that they could bear the recoil when they fired. It wasn't easy to be able to practice shooting. When Zhang Xiaobao said to let the children practice shooting, Wang Wan was worried that the children couldn't bear the recoil. It was Zhang Xiaobao who said, "Children in war-torn places shoot with AKs and rocket launchers. What can our children do with pistols?" They weren't allowed to carry guns, usually. It was Xiaobei who applied for it after she came back from the cattle-herding village. Only 10 pistols were given to the most stable children. The people in the yamen restrained them. The other children took out handcuffs and prepared to handcuff them one by one. At this moment, the county magistrate of Huayin County was a little far away. He was moving closer to the wall. "You stop? What do you mean? Why are you running? Do you have a guilty conscience?" Xiaobei, who was proud of herself, suddenly realized the situation. She pointed at the county magistrate and shouted. The county magistrate and other officials turned their heads at the same time and looked at the county magistrate in surprise. They were puzzled. "No, I'm not running. I'm going to get the rope." "Yes, get the rope." The county magistrate was still moving as he spoke. "Aha, catch him quickly. If he dares to run, shoot him." "I didn't expect that. It's just a small crime of being greedy. Even if we investigate, we won't be able to trace it back to him. He's just going to be exiled. But he's actually afraid of being caught? What does this mean?" Yes, what does this mean? Everyone was thinking in their hearts. It means that what he has committed is a capital crime. "Go fuck this guy." Xiaobei answered himself and commanded the children's group to rush forward. The county magistrate stopped for a while. Just when everyone thought that he was going to be caught, he suddenly started running towards the inside. Bang! A child with a gun in his hand pulled the trigger. The county magistrate's leg was wounded, and he fell to the ground with a plop. He was pressed down by a group of children and handcuffed. They lifted the county magistrate's clothes to cover his head and dragged him to Xiaobei. "Let's go and find my brother and sister." County Magistrate Fong, "Let's not pursue the other matters in the yamen for now. Come with me." Xiaobei had made a greater contribution and did not care about the small matter in Huayin County. Yes. "We'll go now. Guards, help Lord Zhang to detain the county magistrate." "Thank you so much, Lord Zhang. Thank you so much." Fang Yang was grateful to the county magistrate who was caught. He quickly agreed and asked the yamen runners to detain the county magistrate whose leg was still bleeding. He followed Xiaobei and the others to the foot of Mount Hua. When Li Longji arrived at the foot of Mount Hua, the first thing he did was to catch the person sent by the Blackwater Commandery. The Blackwater Commander-in-Chief's mansion was further north than the Bohai Commander-in-Chief's mansion. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's sphere of influence did not reach there. Although they had already acknowledged them and were willing to pay the tax, they had all kinds of excuses to set the tax amount very small. More importantly, there were many mountains and forests, and the road was very steep. The county magistrate who was caught by Xiaobei in Huayin County was sent by the Blackwater Commandery. He had been undercover for a long time. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan tested almost all the interrogation methods they knew on him. Only then did they manage to get him to talk. At the beginning, all kinds of physical methods did not work at all. He did not say anything even when he was covered with bruises. In the end, they had to interrogate him tirelessly and use anesthetics and alcohol to solve the problem. Therefore, they began to search the mountain and send out hunting dogs. They found the people who were hiding and a large number of fireworks buried in various strategic places. Everyone knew that the fireworks were not used to welcome Li Longji. After capturing them, he sent an imperial edict to Li Sun, who was still at the Songma Commander-in-Chief Manor, ordering him to mobilize 20,000 elite troops in Jili Prefecture. plus 10,000 of his own troops, and to gather 50,000 porters to attack the Blackwater Commander-in-Chief Manor. The 20 gunboats guarding the Bohai Sea Commander-in-Chief Manor also took advantage of the fact that the Bohai Sea Bay was not frozen to sail up the coast, intending to storm the Blackwater Commander-in-Chief Manor. The people from the surrounding countries who had accompanied Li Longji all understood that Li Longji had dispatched such a large force. One reason was that he truly wanted to flatten the Blackwater Commander-in-Chief's manor, and the other was that he wanted to show off the might of the great Tang to them. "Hello, Uncle Emperor." After Li Longji landed at the foot of Mount Hua, Xiao Bei and the others came looking for him. They didn't care if there were people from other countries present. They didn't call him Your Majesty, nor did they mention their status as subjects. They just smiled and approached Li Longji to greet him. Perhaps because he was in a good mood, Li Longji found Xiao Bei more adorable. He picked her up and put her on the dragon chair beside him. He touched her head and said, "Good, good. Xiao Bei, you made a great contribution again. Tell me, what reward do you want?" Hum. Xiao Bei smiled shyly. No matter how he looked at her, he felt that she was a cute little girl. If the county magistrate Fang Yang saw this, he would definitely think that his eyes were playing tricks on him. Was this still the Lord Zhang who turned hostile at once in the Yamen? Was this still the ruthless girl who would shoot whenever she wanted? Zhu Zhanqi sighed silently in his heart. He finally knew the position of the Zhang family and the Wang family in Li Longji's heart. It was more difficult than climbing to the sky to drive a wedge between them. They had a good rest for 2 days. The long-awaited sword competition on Mount Hua began. Although it was called sword competition, except for the Tang Empire, no one had a sword in their hands. They could only watch or talk about it. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan chose Baiyun Peak to show the military strength of the Tang Empire, so they were going to take this path. The snow-covered mountain looked lofty and dreamy. If they did not know that Li Longji was showing the strength of the country, people from other countries would like to experience the beauty of nature in such a scenery. Suddenly, he left his position and ran to Zhu Zhanqi. He whispered to him, "Zanpu, do you know what they're going to do?" Zhu Zhanqi shook his head and said, "Who knows? Just watch. Do you want to climb a mountain at this time? Where did the path come from? Let's go." 1st Engineering Battalion, go. When many people were guessing how to climb the mountain, the Commander-in-Chief Wan pulled out the saber at her waist and waved it forward. The order was passed down. Immediately, drums and gongs sounded and military flags flew. The 1,000 soldiers of the 1st Reinforced Battalion shouted in unison and rushed out from the right side of the team. Since ancient times, there had been a path on Mount Hua. At this time, the path was even more difficult. There were mountains in front of them and cliffs in the distance. Not to mention climbing to the top, just the path in front of them made people feel weak in the knees. While everyone was guessing what the 1,000 soldiers were going to do, the people of the 1st Engineering Battalion had already reached a small cliff. They did not take the path that the herb gatherers usually took. The first row of 50 people did not stop when they reached the cliff. They stretched their hands back, and the people in the other rows each held a long bamboo pole and pushed it up. The people in front of them grabbed it and shouted, "Ha ha!" They used the same chant and used the bamboo pole to push the people in front of them up the cliff. The people below understood that this was a tactic used when attacking a city. However, the length of the bamboo pole was obviously not enough to push people to the top of the cliff. What was the use of climbing a certain distance? While everyone was puzzled, the 50 people who were pushed to the top of the cliff grabbed the bamboo pole with one hand and pulled the backpack on their back in front of them with the other hand. No one knew what they took out from the backpack. With a gun-like sound, 50 ropes were pulled down from the top. The people at the bottom immediately climbed up the rope at lightning speed. It was unknown how long they had practiced. Looking at the height of 6 zhang, they climbed up in a few steps. The last person at the bottom handed the bamboo pole up and also began to climb. As soon as the bamboo pole went up, the people below raised their clairvoyance one after another, only to see that the person who had just landed stepped on several ropes that were fastened to the cliff wall so quickly. Another bamboo pole lifted the person who had gone up first up another 6 zhang. The same gun-like sound was heard. More ropes were pulled down, and the people below started climbing again. As they were climbing, a rock suddenly loosened, and the people on top fell down. Amidst the shocked cries of the people watching, they were pulled back by the ropes again. Without any intention of stopping, they started climbing again. When they reached a place where the rock protruded and could no longer hold the bamboo pole, the person at the top only had a rope around his waist and started climbing with his bare hands. His four limbs moved quickly, but it was very rhythmic. If one looked closely, they would notice that under normal circumstances, the four limbs of a barehanded climber would always be supported by 3 points and moved by 1 point. They would only change under special circumstances. From time to time, the rock that someone grabbed would loosen before they were done. The person who climbed up would fall down again and be pulled back by the rope. They would climb up again and again. Sometimes they even used one arm and a few fingers to hold on to the rock. The people below were shocked to see this. They were even more shocked at the climbing speed. In just a short while, the people from the 1st Engineering Battalion had climbed to a distance of 30 feet. But at this time, there was a very big protruding rock in the middle. If they wanted to go around it, they would bump into the position of others. They could not directly move horizontally, so there would definitely be a missing piece. Just when many people thought that the Tang soldiers would give up on this route, a person rushed out from the crowd and shouted, "Let me do it." Then, this person pulled a person from the 2nd Battalion who was preparing to run with him. As he ran, he took off the person's backpack and changed his belt. When this person ran to the bottom of the cliff, he did not immediately climb along the rope. Instead, he used the momentum of running and used both his hands and feet to jump up more than 30 feet. Wah! The people below were in an uproar. How did he fly up? It was as if his body was weightless. In just a few steps, he had reached a height of more than 30 feet. Then, he hung the rope on the ring around his waist and used a speed that was several times faster than the people from the 1st Battalion to climb up. This person's hands and feet seemed to only need to touch a small gap in the rock. He did not need to do too much. His whole body was like a monkey jumping up with a whoosh. Zhang Xiaobao. He is Zhang Xiaobao. After the people below were shocked, they finally recognized who this person was. They turned around to look. As expected, Zhang Xiaobao, who had been accompanying Wang Wan, was gone. Didn't they say that Zhang Xiaobao was only good at economics and calculation? When did he become capable of such things? Kutuyu, who was standing beside Zhu Zan of Qi, opened his eyes wide and shouted in disbelief. Not only him, but those who did not know Zhang Xiaobao also thought so. Wow, Big Brother is so awesome. Xiao Bei had never seen her brother do such a thing in front of her. At this moment, she opened her mouth in surprise and cheered, waving her little fists with all her strength. Only Wang Wan pursed her lips and smiled, whispering to herself, "This is the international swindler that made countless special police officers helpless, flying over roofs and vaulting walls. Who knows how many self-proclaimed elites have their faces wiped off? And it seems that he is even more awesome than before. If the family has no money, Big Brother can support us by being cat burglar," Xiao Bei said with certainty. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao did not have the leisure to care about what other people thought. He did not allow a blank area to appear on the cliff. In the shortest time possible, he came to the protruding rock, paused for a moment, and looked up at the lines under the rock. Then, under the exclamations of the people below, he suddenly jumped up and did a forward flip. Halfway through the movement, he took out an item from his backpack. His feet suddenly stretched out, and he stepped on the cliff in front of him. His body flew out parallel to the bottom of the protruding rock. Just as his head was above the protruding rock, he stretched his hands forward, and the object in his hands just happened to hit the protruding rock. With a sound, his body fell down. Just as he fell for a distance of 3 meters, his arms wrapped around the rope that was just nailed to the rock. Then he swung forward, and his feet once again stepped on the spot where he just stepped. His body flew away from the cliff, but the rope in his hands did not loosen. Using this time's strength, he stretched his legs, exerted strength in his waist, and drew an arc. Under the pull of the rope, he hit the outermost protruding rock. He grabbed with one hand, and his legs did a horizontal split. His hand buckled forward, and his hand loosened and pulled again. When he stopped, his whole body was already standing on the rock. With a sound, a rope was pulled down for the people below to use. The people below were stunned. Gao Lishur stood up from the chair and began to look at his adopted son again. Chapter 825. There wasn't a single ray of sunlight shining on Zhang Xiaobao's body. It was just that the wind was a little stronger because he was standing at a high altitude. Even so, the people at the foot of the mountain still had to reevaluate Zhang Xiaobao's position. Even the smiling Wang Wan made people have other guesses. The people who followed MOG felt that Zhang Xiaobao was climbing very fast, but they couldn't understand why 1,000 people were climbing the mountain. They asked in confusion, "Master, can they threaten us by climbing the mountain?" They can't. The threat is to Tubo and the northern part of Hebei province, especially the northern part of Hebei province. With this speed, when the two sides meet in the valley, the Tang Empire won't be in a hurry to set up the formation. Instead, they will climb the mountain. When the others rush over, they will be greeted with a rain of arrows, no, a rain of bullets. MOG estimated the time and explained to the people around him. When he looked at Zhu Zan of Cheetah on the left, there was some pity in his eyes. Zhu Zan of Cheetah was silent. He was still thinking about what was the thing that nailed the rope to the cliff after the clapping sound. 2nd Engineering Battalion, go. Wang Wan didn't have time to introduce the tool to others. Seeing that the fastest climber was close to the top of the mountain, she waved the sword in her hand and changed the sound of the drum. The 1,000 soldiers of the 2nd Battalion shouted and rushed up the road made by the 1st Battalion. With the rope, their climbing speed was much faster than the 1st Battalion. Every time they climbed a certain distance, they would start to throw the rope horizontally and let the people next to them catch it. At the key points, they would use the clapping thing to fix it again. 3rd Battalion, go. Wang Wan's order continued to change. The people of the 3rd Battalion rushed up but didn't climb. They just waited at the bottom. Wang Wan came to Li Longji's dragon carriage and said, "Your Majesty, please go up the mountain." "Yes, Li Shur." Li Longji happily responded and began to instruct Gao Lishur. Gao Lishur naturally knew what to do. He passed down the orders one by one, and the troops slowly moved towards the cliff. When they arrived at the bottom of the cliff, the people from the 3rd Engineering Battalion threw out grappling hooks and hooked onto all the carriages, pulling them up with all their might. As everyone's bodies gradually left the ground, many of those who couldn't figure out how to go up the mountain finally understood. They were actually going to hang themselves. They were a little worried, but also a little expectant. They had never played like this before. How did Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan come up with this idea? If I had known earlier, I would have brought the house. Xiao Bei was not afraid at all. He poked his head out with all his might. The whole way up, except for the brave ones, the rest of the people felt like they had just survived a disaster. It was really too exciting. Li Longji casually glanced at everyone's faces. Wei Wei curled her lips and whispered to Gao Lishur, "It seems that there are still many cowards. Your Majesty is right. This is just the beginning. When the other arrangements are shown later, I think they will be scared to death." Gao Lishur's eyes looked around. He wanted to ask Zhang Xiaobao how to climb as if he was flying. It looked very easy. It was not difficult at all. After the people from the surrounding areas came up, they looked at where Li Longji was and waited. They wondered what kind of sword competition it would be. Would it be like the 3 Kingdoms, where they discussed the heroes while drinking wine? At this time, Gao Lishur stood up and asked loudly, "Envoys, do you still remember the edgeless sword that was sent along with the invitation to the sword competition on Mount Hua? But please take it out." Everyone thought to themselves, "Isn't this nonsense? Does it not have a sword?" They all ordered the people who were guarding the sword to take it out and take it off their hands to show it to the emperor. Gao Lishur nodded with satisfaction and said, "The emperor once said that a sword has 2 edges. If you want to hurt others, you have to care about yourself. Remember, on the trip to Mount Hua, you can speak with your heart. Where's the edge?" After that, Gao Lishur stopped talking. Everyone looked at the sword in their hands and then looked at where Li Longji was. They did not understand for a while. They also did not know what was going to happen on the trip to Mount Hua. Just as they were speculating, Wang Wan took over the command of the army again. Send a signal, call the Air Force. At the order, colorful fireworks exploded in the sky one after another. The gorgeous and dazzling scene made the people who were waiting feel a little relieved. Fortunately, there was not much snow on Mount Hua. Otherwise, they would have been buried by the snow. Among them, Zhu Zan felt the most. After all, he was in a place with many snowy mountains. Then the people from the surrounding countries began to wonder, Air Force, what is the Air Force? What is the use of it? While everyone was wondering and Li Longji was looking forward to it, countless black spots appeared in the distant sky and approached Mount Hua. When Zhu Zan saw so many black spots, the first thing that came to his mind was the Tang Empire's eagle formation. He could not help but tremble. Although the incident had passed, he could not forget the countless eagles flying on the front line of Jinchuan. They provided the Tang Empire's army with information at any time and suppressed the eagles on his side. In particular, there was an eagle called Shui Yun. It was almost psychic and could cooperate well with people. It understood the human language and could send messages from thousands of miles away. What was even more infuriating was that Shui Yun did not have the slightest bit of pride as an eagle. Other eagles were more courageous in battle. No matter who the opponent was, they would not admit defeat even if they were to die in battle. Shui Yun retreated when there was danger and took advantage of the situation. It was very strange that an eagle could do this. Many people also thought that it was an eagle flying over. As the black spots gradually approached, they could see them with their clairvoyance. Only then did they realize that it was not an eagle at all. There were two kinds of flying objects. One was a big ball with a big basket hanging below it. They did not know what it was used for. The other was frightening. The spectators all opened their mouths in disbelief. Those flying objects were actually people. They had special wings on their backs, and the people were below. They did not know how to control the wings, but they were flying back and forth in the sky. Red fireworks rose into the sky. Everyone watched as the winged people adjusted their positions and arranged themselves into a horizontal snake formation. Fireworks rose again, and the snake formation was pulled apart. One row became 2 rows, 2 rows became 4 rows, and 4 rows became 8 rows. Only then did the formation stop. The formation was distinct, rising and falling like the wind on the water's surface or the overlapping of fish scales. This was the fish scale formation. The first feeling that the crowd felt from such a formation change was that they were stunned. However, before they could fully comprehend the first feeling, the second feeling came. That was fear. Even those who did not understand military affairs could tell that the person below the wings was a soldier when they saw the Tang uniform. Soldiers were naturally used to fight. How could one fight an enemy flying in the sky? How fast would a horse be able to avoid the pursuit of a flying man? How high was the city wall to prevent the enemy from entering the city? Moji felt bitter. Just now, when the Tang people were climbing the cliff, he was gloating. Now it was his turn. Could a horse galloping on the grassland outrun a flying person? Not to mention shooting arrows from above. Even if someone threw a torch at his camp, he would not be able to withstand it. Where did the Tang get so many wings? Everyone's expression changed. Those from the Tang who had never seen such a scene blushed and felt an inexplicable sense of pride. Those flying in the sky were the Tang army. Who in the world could defeat them? Some of the people in the surroundings were livid, while others were pale. Why was this happening? When did the Tang army have a flying army? Li Longji squinted his eyes and kept looking at the expressions of the others. He was very happy in his heart. Who asked you to make trouble? Why did you have to invade the border and force Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's family? Humph, there will be more in a while. But suddenly he stroked the sword that had not been sharpened and suddenly understood. He muttered, "So that's how it is. Your Majesty is asking us whether we should sharpen the sword of the Tang Empire. Should our sword have no edges or double edges? Where does the edge point?" When the people around him heard his words, they also understood what was going on. Great Tang's Li Longji was trying to show off. Wang Wan also deliberately asked Xiao Bei loudly, "Do you think the sword of the Tang Empire should be sharpened?" Xiao Bei shook his head and also replied loudly, "No, Didn't brother say in the story that a heavy sword without an edge? This is called subduing the enemy without fighting. Hearing Wang Wan and Xiaobei's questions and answers, the mountaintop became even quieter. Only the sound of the wind could be heard. Without giving them too much time to be silent, the winged people in the sky had already flown over their heads. They changed their movements from time to time, and the balls with baskets below also approached. When all the balls were floating above their heads, one of them landed first. Everyone looked at it carefully and saw that there was a fire on it. Wasn't this similar to the calming lantern? The emperor has ordered that all officials change. Gao Lishir called out and first put a backpack on Li Longji. Mo Jillian and the others did not know what it was for. Soon, the backpack was arranged. Li Longji, under Gao Lishir's help, stepped onto the first Kongming lantern that landed first. 2 other people accompanied him. The rest of them were also put on backpacks, each of them accompanied by a Tang soldier to protect them. Their hearts trembled as they entered the baskets, their hands tightly gripping the rims of the baskets, as if this could save their lives in the face of danger. When all the large Kongming lanterns had people on them, they lined up in 3 lines and flew towards the north. Zuzan and Princess Jinsheng were together. They nervously and curiously looked down. They saw clouds and mist and mountains. When they saw that the people on the mountaintop who did not follow them had become small black dots, they sat back down dizzily and sighed. Oh my God, falling down and turning into a meat patty. Crazy, the Tang Empire people are crazy. Princess Jinsheng did not look down at all. She was afraid of heights and looked around. There was a person in the basket who was responsible for turning the handle. Every time the handle was turned, the thing called a propeller made by the Tang Empire people outside the basket would turn many times. There were 2 people in the middle of the basket. One of them had a clairvoyance in his hand and was responsible for looking out. The other person scooped a spoonful of black stuff from the bucket under his feet from time to time. After thinking about it, he recognized that it was tallow water, which could be burned. The large Kongming lanterns were made from tallow water. Next to the burning area, there was a set of hollow iron rings, big and small. Whenever it rose too high, the person in charge of adding oil and water would use one of the rings to lower the height. If one was not enough, 2 rings would be used, adding and subtracting each other. Zuzan, who had recovered, also noticed this situation. Thinking about it, it did not seem difficult. If he learned from the Tang Empire, then he would not have to be afraid of the Tang Empire anymore. He was not the only one who had this idea, especially the Japanese. They were very adventurous and considered whether they could fly across the sea with the Kongming lanterns. Kutiyu, who was smart, rejected the idea of going back and making Kongming lanterns. He sighed and said, "From now on, there will be no kitons. General, we can also do it, but we don't know where to fly. You won't suddenly throw us down while flying, right?" Kutiyu's advisor who was with him said aloud, "Let's talk about it later. Let's fly north. I don't know where to go." Kutiyu was afraid of being overheard, so he did not mention it again. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan knew where to go. There was a large plain north of the Wei River on the south bank of the Wei River, which was actually the Wei River Plain. That was the last stop. The Kongming lanterns flew and finally came to the sky above the plain. They gradually descended. At this time, the soldier in charge of protecting the people in the surroundings played the role of a tour guide and explained to the people in the basket. His Majesty invited everyone here to let everyone see the reason why we are not afraid of the threat of further enemies when we are together in the future. With my protection, you can stick your head out and take a look. Hearing the soldier's words, everyone suppressed their fear of the sky and forced themselves to look down with their clairvoyance. They saw that there were wooden stakes inserted into the ground below, and 2 pigs were tied to each stake. Some of the pigs were lying on the ground sleeping, while others were trying to break free. After seeing it, they did not immediately understand what it was for. While they were puzzled, the low sound of drums could be heard, and their hearts jumped. Bang! A firework exploded in a place in the east of the plain, attracting everyone's attention. There's nothing. No, there's a flag. Also, there's something beside the flag. There's 1, 2, 3. I think there's more than 100 of them. Nu, can you see them? Zuzan opened his eyes wide. He was afraid that he was seeing things, so he asked Princess Jinsheng. I can see it. Princess Jinsheng replied with certainty. That's good. I don't know what it is. Zuzan was at a loss. At this time, the sound of drums changed again, becoming more urgent. Everyone looked at the place where the flag was inserted and found that there were suddenly many people running back and forth. At the same time, they understood. No wonder they could not see clearly. It turned out that there were so many people wearing the same color of clothes as the surroundings. They also wore white hats on their heads. While running, the white cloth was lifted one by one, revealing the things underneath. There was a large hole in the middle of the pillar, and there was a box beside it. Some people were moving things out of the box. After waiting for a quarter of an hour, it seemed that everything was ready. The sound of drums changed again, and the continuous sound of hammers suddenly stopped. Li Longji, who was in the basket, stared at the more than 100 things without blinking. He seemed to be too excited. Wei Wei, who was holding the clairvoyant, trembled. She said to Gao Li-Shi in a floating voice, "From today onwards, there will be a scene of peace around Tang. Your Majesty is wise." Gao Li-Shi did not have the leisure to say a lot of words to flatter the emperor. When everyone's eyes were focused on the things on the ground, they saw someone holding a flag in his hand. They vaguely heard a shout. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the people below pushed the things they had taken out from the box into the tube with a large hole. Suddenly, a flame flashed on the pipe with a hole, followed by a whoosh sound. Before everyone could understand what was going on, the place where the pig was tied also had a flame flashing, followed by a thick smoke. Boom, boom, whoosh, whoosh. Two kinds of sounds, accompanied by flashes of light and smoke, appeared alternately, shaking people's ears to the point of buzzing. The invincible gunship of Geely State. A person from the Bohai Commander-in-Chief's office shouted, but was covered by the rumbling sound. The cannons were roaring, and the smoke was spreading. No one knew when the sound stopped. The person in the basket still had that silly look on his face. The buzzing sound in his ears seemed to be telling a story from a long time ago. The sound of the pheasants flapping their wings in the mountains of the north, the sound of the waves crashing on the rocks by the sea, the crackling of the firewood in the raging fire on the grassland, and the roar of the rolling tide on the snow mountain were all far away at this moment. The pride and glory of the past were covered by the thick black smoke. The propeller behind the basket spun like a shepherd's whip. Find a flat place to land. Don't fall down. Maybe there won't be any sound. Wang Wan pulled out the cotton ball in her ear and ordered the person playing the drum. The person playing the drum looked at Wang Wan and also pulled out his ear. "Miss, are you talking about going home? Find a place to settle down. Get someone to come and take a look tomorrow. Be careful. Take back the pork that can be eaten and share it. Hit it harder." Wang Wan looked at the craters that had been blasted out and felt distressed. It was all money, much more expensive than setting off firecrackers. Showing off once would cost at least a year's worth of tax in a county. The drumbeat of the drum brought the people who were in their own thoughts back to reality. Using the clairvoyant eye, they looked at the place that was blown up. All the wooden stakes were destroyed. Black soil, brown soil, white snow, red blood, and pigs that were still alive were mixed together. There were also 2 pigs that escaped the disaster running back and forth crazily. Looking at the iron cylinders, there were 6 horses next to each iron cylinder. They were tied with ropes and struggled to pull the carriage, with wheels slowly moving in one direction. Large Kongming lanterns fell one by one on the banks of the Wei River. Small pieces of ice floated on the surface of the river, and a large ship was anchored by the river. Someone brought down bundles of firewood from the ship and lit a bonfire. All kinds of food suitable for barbecue were placed on a row of tables, and jars of wine were still sealed with mud. The whimpering sound of the horse and the bleak sound of the horse head zither came from the ship. After a few verses, a man's song sounded. The rolling Yangtze River flows to the east. The waves wash away the heroes. Right and wrong, success and failure disappear in a blink of an eye. The green hills are still there. How many sunsets are there? Chapter 826. Snow had started to fall from the sky, making the illusionary Mount Hua seem even more ethereal. A bowl of strong wine was splashed on the lamb on the grill. The flames jumped up, showing a hint of blue in the red. Li Longji cut off a piece of lamb and put it in his mouth. He chewed a few times and nodded in satisfaction. He was very satisfied with the meal. On the other hand, the people of the countries and ethnic groups around the Great Tang had different expressions. Some of them had already accepted their fates after witnessing the might of the Great Tang. As they listened to the music from the ship, they relaxed, drinking wine and eating meat. They no longer worried about the future, nor did they have the heart to worry. Their own race truly couldn't withstand another round of bombardment. People like Ku Tiu kept glancing at Zhu Zan and Moji Lian, hoping that the Tubo and Turks could be more manly and work together to fight against the Great Tang. Moji did not eat the meat. He just drank half a bowl of strong wine from time to time. It was a very good wine. The weather on the grassland changed too quickly. Hot and cold alternated frequently. If everyone could drink the strong wine of the Great Tang, they would not have to worry about the cold at night. Moji, who thought that he could hold his liquor, drank a few bowls of wine. His body warmed up, his ears turned red, and his eyes became a little blurred. He seemed to have returned to his tent in the Turks. There was fire and meat, and there was light singing and dancing. He smacked his lips twice, not in the mood to think about other people's matters. His hand touched the unsharpened sword on his leg as he sat cross-legged. He praised, "Good sword, truly a good sword. The one who obtains this sword obtains the world. The sword has two edges. One edge can lead thousands of armored cavalry, invincible in battle. The other edge can scatter money all over the sky, not worrying about spending. When the sword is retracted, the four seas are at peace. When the sword is unsheathed, snow falls. The grassland is too cold. I wonder if it can warm up. Yes, warm up. Find a mountain to hide from the wind." At first, the people around Moji thought that he was really praising the sword in his hand. They looked at the sword, but could not see what was good about it. Only after hearing the latter part of his sentence did she realize that he wasn't talking about the sword in his hand, nor was he talking about the sword in his hand. Instead, he was talking about the sword in Li Longji's hand. Naturally, he was referring to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who were huddled together and whispering something to each other. Zhang Xiaobao's abilities were obvious to all. No matter where he went, he was a hen that laid golden eggs. Countless spies sent to the Great Tang had long ago reported back on the deeds of Zhang Xiaobao. The Great Tang's national treasury was no longer lacking in money. With the existence of the bank, if necessary, one could mobilize 10 million strings of cash at any time. With so much money, he could easily crush someone to death. More importantly, wherever his family went, the lives of the common people would be improved. Many of the officials of the Great Tang weren't stupid, and with his family's methods in front of them, they began to learn. Even if they couldn't compare to his family, they were still much better off than before. When she smiled, her two dimples would appear. At first glance, people would think that she was a lady from a big family. Only those who knew her would understand what kind of existence she was. Although the generals guarding the borders of the Great Tang were always able to win battles and quell rebellions, those were still small battles. Wang Wan only fought one battle, and that one battle was enough to make Tubo suffer greatly. As for quelling rebellions, she had never done so. However, there were signs in Feng Province. Some people wanted to cause trouble, but Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan sent some people over. In total, there were less than 500 people. All the signs were extinguished by themselves, and no one dared to provoke her. The main reason was that the generals taught by the war in Tubo had already shown her ability. Those generals were now guarding a region and managed the army like it was made of iron. However, every time someone praised them, they didn't dare to accept the praise and only said that they were far inferior to Cuckoo. The Great Tang only had two people, one civil and one military, to suppress the Great Tang's borders until no one dared to act rashly. That's right, this was a real double-edged sword. Don't let it fall on you, otherwise there would be no return. Everyone had their own thoughts. For a moment, The voices gradually quieted down, leaving only the sound of the wind, the crackling of the firewood, and the sound of stringed and bamboo. Li Longji didn't persuade others to eat the meat. He ate happily by himself. Just now, someone had passed on Mo Julian's words, which made him deeply agree. Li Shi, you've worked hard. Li Longji suddenly cut a piece of meat, stabbed it with a knife, and sent it to Gao Li Shi. Gao Li Shi was shocked. He looked at the emperor and didn't understand what he meant. Why did he cut a piece of meat for him? Should he eat it or not? Could it be that he wanted to stab him to death? Thinking in his heart, Gao Li Shi opened his mouth. After stuffing the meat into Gao Li Shi's mouth and letting him bite, Li Longji kept the knife and showed a rare warm smile. At that time, if Li Shi hadn't discussed with me and said that the experts of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan couldn't be easily moved, I really couldn't help but bring them into the palace. Li Longji said the reason with emotion. Gao Li Shi understood. So that's how it is. It seems that the emperor is a little scared. If he really did it, not to mention the fact that there was no Xiaobao and Cuckoo's combined swords, he was afraid that the experts of the Zhang and Wang families would be forced to leave. No matter where they went, as long as it was not in the Tang Empire, today's sword competition of Mount Hua didn't exist. Even if there was a sword competition of Mount Hua, no one knew where it would be, but it would definitely not be in the Tang Empire. Thinking about this, Gao Li Shi said modestly, "Your Majesty has already made a decision. Otherwise, why would you hang the portraits of Xiaobao and Cuckoo in the palace? Your Majesty, I see that Xiaobao seems to have just roasted a chicken. Why don't? Well, you're right. Go." Li Longji's eyes also looked at Zhang Xiaobao from time to time. When he saw Zhang Xiaobao take out a chicken from under the fire, even if he didn't know why he did that, he guessed that it must taste good. At this moment, Zhang Xiaobao, who was hiding and trying to be inconspicuous, didn't expect that Li Longji still had his eyes on him, even if he gave up the opportunity to show off. He took out the beggar's chicken from under the fire, blew off the seal, tore off a wing, and handed it to Wang Wan. "Eat, eat, eat more. Hong Qigong like this. It's been 6 years, right? This cooking wine has been in the cellar for 6 years. The wild chickens in the mountain are thinner, but it smells better than the chickens at home. You only know how to eat. In case Tubo and Tujue don't agree to join the Tang Empire and war is coming, you don't even have time to prepare. How can you have the leisure to cook a chicken and leave a good lamb untouched?" As Wang Wan talked about Zhang Xiaobao, she took the chicken. Looking at the dry mud on the ground, she was stunned. Then she asked Zhang Xiaobao, "Did you kill the chickens in Fried Chicken Farm? 6 million of them died in one night. Don't be afraid. They definitely don't dare to fight the Tang Empire. It's winter now, and they'll definitely win. What did you say about Fried Chicken Farm? I don't understand." Zhang Xiaobao looked away as he spoke, not looking at Wang Wan. Wang Wan burst out laughing. "Don't deny it. Today, I realize that I have never heard of anyone carving words on the mud when cooking beggar's chicken. Moreover, the words carved were Hong Qigong. According to the information, the Fried Chicken Farm once found dried mud with these 3 words. How do you explain that? Oh, there's such a thing. Damn, it makes me angry. That Zhou guy not only deducted the wages of the workers in the surrounding villages, but also didn't dispose of the chicken feces properly, causing the entire village to smell bad. He even used industrial raw materials to raise chickens. I stole a few to eat, but the more I ate, the more it tasted wrong. Back then, the chase was fierce, and I was in a hurry to run into the mountains. Otherwise, I would have poisoned him to death too." Zhang Xiaobao replied confidently. "Then do you know how much tax the local area would have to pay without his chicken farm? How are the villagers who can still get some wages living?" "I don't know. I only know that the villa of the county magistrate's family is very beautiful. Hurry up and eat. Why are you still talking about the past? I don't like to hear others praising my achievements. How about I choose a village here and open a gutter oil processing plant? It can solve more employment problems. I can't stand people who are greedy and don't do practical things for the people." "So, you can be greedy if you do practical things? At least that's what I think. Come, follow me. Take the chicken and don't eat it first." As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, He pulled Wang Wan to a place where there was no one in the distance. "Xiao Bao, where are you going?" Behind them came Gao Lishi's affectionate voice. "Father, I'm going to relieve myself with Cuckoo." Zhang Xiaobao subconsciously moved the chicken to a place where Gao Lishi couldn't see. "What are you talking about? Who's going to relieve themselves with you? Take it out." Wang Wan reached out and poked Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Li Longji with disdain. He took out the chicken and said to Gao Lishi, "Father, this chicken has been torn apart and eaten. It's okay, it's okay." When His Majesty eats, he always lets his subordinates taste it first, Gao Lishi said embarrassedly. He took the chicken and rushed back as fast as he could. "Bandit, he's just a bearded man. Let's wait. When he's full, we'll dig out the other chicken. Come, let's talk about our future plans. After we take over Tufan and Tujue, we have to use them." Zhang Xiaobao took 2 bites of the chicken claw and sat back down with a face full of regret. He shouldn't have saved his favorite chicken thigh for last. Li Longji quickly swallowed the 2 chicken thighs, raised his head, and said to the people in the oppressive atmosphere, "Everyone, tell me, how should I sharpen my sword? It's here." Everyone felt a chill in their hearts. They looked at each other, but no one was willing to speak first. Seeing that no one was speaking, Li Longji shifted his gaze to Zuzan. Zuzan really hoped that he could become invisible and not be discovered by others. Seeing that Li Longji was forcing him to say something, he lifted the sword in front of him and looked at Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao first. He didn't see the 2 of them looking at him. What he saw was that the 2 of them were talking excitedly for some reason. From time to time, Zhang Xiaobao even pointed to the west. No matter how he looked at it, he felt that he was referring to Tufan. Wang Wan, on the other hand, smiled and waved her little fist as if she was promising something to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao gave Wang Wan a thumbs up and nodded vigorously. Could it be that they want to make a move on Tufan? Zuzan thought to himself. Clang, clang, clang. Just as Zuzan was hesitating about how to reply, the sound of the Hu Jia and Ma Tu Chin on the ship stopped and changed to the continuous sound of the pipa string sweeping. It was a very familiar sound. Even without the first few verses, he could still recognize it. The current song was called Ambush on All Sides. Each sound was more urgent than the last. A scene that Zuzan didn't want to recall suddenly appeared in his mind. Report: our army has surrounded the Tang army at the Jinchuan mountain range, waiting for news of victory. Report: the villagers of Mo Lu village have been slaughtered, and the enemy is nowhere to be found. Report: our army has lost traces of the enemy on Jinchuan mountain range, and we have suffered heavy losses. Report: we have found out that the Tang dynasty's reinforcements are from the logistics camp in Idyll. Report: our army's 15,000 soldiers are all dead, requesting for reinforcements. Report: our army's 2nd and 3rd reinforcements are blocked, and our logistics are cut off. Report: our army's provisions in 3 areas have been burned to ashes, requesting for more food. Report: this summer locusts are a disaster. I'm afraid we won't be able to harvest anything. Report: Zanpu, His Majesty wants you to have a sword competition. Just as Zuzan was recalling the scenes, he heard the soft voice of the princess of Jincheng. Sword competition? Yes, sword competition. He wants to invite you to the sword competition on Mount Hua. Zuzan murmured and shook his head vigorously. He looked at the sword in his hand and sighed to the sky. 2 streams of tears flowed out of his eyes. He held the sword up high and knelt on the ground. He replied dryly to Li Longji, I'm slow-witted. Your Majesty, I'll do as you say. Sigh. More sighs sounded almost at the same time. However, when he suddenly closed his eyes, he seemed to have aged 10 years. He didn't want to blame Zuzan and say that he was timid. After all, he had been to Tubo before and understood the current situation in Tubo. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had stationed 30,000 soldiers and countless horses at the front line of Jinchuan Mountain, waiting for the war to start. In addition, there were troops flying in the sky, long spears that could decide life and death in 300 steps, and thunderous cannon fire. If it were him, He wouldn't have the courage to challenge Li Longji. Li Longji's brows relaxed. He nodded and said to Zuzan, "What you said is exactly what I want. I'll give you the surname Li and reward you with 10,000 bolts of silk and $10 million. Thank you, Your Majesty." Zuzan's voice trembled. He bowed to the ground and didn't get up for a long time. Li Longji then looked at Mo Jillian. Mo Jillian, do you have anything to say? I want to go back and discuss. Mo Jillian couldn't make the decision and could only reply like this. At this time, Wang Wan suddenly interrupted. "Your Majesty, I asked for your order to send Mo Jillian back to the Turks. I'm going to phone province to train the soldiers and do some exercises. On the way, bring along the cannons and see if the horses are afraid of the sound of cannons." I thought about it again. I'm willing to listen to Your Majesty's order to sharpen the sword. Mo Jillian looked at Wang Wan and quickly expressed his position. He meant that he couldn't make the decision for the Turks, but he was willing to submit. Li Longji wanted to laugh out loud, but he restrained himself and looked at the others. "Your Majesty, this subject feels that Ancestor Cheetah is right. It should be so. Now, this subject and the king have a caravan passing through. However, without an official to govern, it is inconvenient. This subject requests Your Majesty to send a capable subject to govern. As for the land that Your Majesty bestowed upon this subject and this subject thinks that this subject has no time to spare. Also, this subject heard that there's a city further west called Shancheng. Shancheng is further west, and there is a lake. The lake is like the sea. There are countless fishes and birds in it. There are even pearls that can reflect the moon. I hope Your Majesty will allow this." When Li Longji was worried, Zhang Xiaobao suddenly spoke. He was holding a half-eaten chicken head in one hand and a piece of chicken thigh in the other. With a mouth full of oil, he talked about the ownership of a piece of land in a casual manner. It was as if he was talking about whether to steam or boil dumplings. When Ancestor Cheetah looked over, he nodded at Ancestor Cheetah, meaning, "You see, the two of us are on good terms. I support you." Li Longji was happy and in a good mood. He nodded and said, "Official Zhang's words are reasonable. I will grant Shanxing to you and the king and exempt the rent for 5 years. What do you think? This subject does not agree with Your Majesty's rent reduction. Jinchuan is more prosperous in the west. If Your Majesty reduces this subject's rent, what about the other places? This subject requests Your Majesty to take back the imperial favor." Zhang Xiaobao looked like he was thinking for the country and directly refused. Ancestor Cheetah was depressed. According to Zhang Xiaobao's words, not only did he not provoke the conflict between Zhang Xiaobao and Li Longji, but he also lost a large piece of land. If that lake was seized by Zhang Xiaobao, salt would be expensive in the future. No, he had to stop it. Otherwise, there would be endless trouble. "Your Majesty, Qinghai Lake is far away from Pengzhou. It is inconvenient to travel. This subject is afraid that Governor Zhang has no time to control it. Why don't? That's not right. Ancestor Cheetah, I think I can do it. If you don't believe me, you can try. I promise to build that road. 100,000 cavalrymen from Pengzhou will arrive there in 3 days and 3 nights." Zhang Xiaobao did not bother to argue with Ancestor Cheetah anymore and wanted to make a bet with him. "You can brag as much as you want. If you can arrive in 3 days and 3 nights, I will tear off my head and give it to you." Ancestor Cheetah thought in his heart. He said, "Of course there is no need, but this subject, well, I approve. From next year onwards, the surrounding areas will have to pay rent. Official Zhang will have to work hard." Li Longji impatiently interrupted Ancestor Cheetah's words and gave the place that did not belong to the Tang Empire to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. When the people of the Tang Empire saw that Zhang Xiaobao and the emperor did not have any conflicts, they were relieved. They were really afraid that Zhang Xiaobao would not give up the place. At the same time, they looked at Ancestor Cheetah with eyes full of schadenfreude. "You deserve it. When Zhang Xiaobao's forces go there, let's see what you can do." Ancestor Cheetah was silent. His face was ugly. He did not even touch the meat that the Princess of Jincheng gave him. "Aunt Princess, I'll treat you to chicken. Brother's chicken is delicious. Xiao Bei was not satisfied with Ancestor Cheetah's attitude towards the princess of Jincheng. He used 2 knives to strenuously cut a chicken and brought it to Ancestor Cheetah. He wanted Ancestor Cheetah to take it. If he could, Zuzan Chidu really wanted to slap Xiao Bei away, but he could only think about it. He didn't dare to put it into action. He tried his best to squeeze out a friendly smile. He took the chicken and said to Xiao Bei is really sensible. He then turned to the princess of Jincheng and said, Nu, I'll help you tear it. I thank you, Zongpu. The princess of Jincheng said happily. When Mo Jillian saw all this, he sighed in his heart. When did women have such a status in Tubo? Ancestor Chi was really pitiful. Fortunately, Li Longji did not agree to his proposal. Otherwise, he would have to treat a woman like an ancestor. The sore meat on Mount Hua was over. The warm bonfire dinner made many people feel cold. They followed Li Longji's instructions and boarded the ship to the capital. This year, they were going to spend the new year in the Tang Empire. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang did not plan to return to Jili province, nor did they plan to go to Luoyang. Their families had already set off from Luoyang and came to the capital together for the new year. They did not need to go back next year. Zhang Zhong was going to find an official position in the capital. The specific official position had not been arranged yet, but at the very least, he had to be a minister. His original second-rank official position would be removed, and he would become a third-rank official. It was an apparent demotion, but a hidden promotion. In terms of official positions, the happiest were Xiao Bei and the other 9. They had caught a spy and made a great contribution. The original Imperial Grandee was a 5th-rank official. He wore light red clothes and had a silver fish pouch. Now, he wore dark red clothes. He was a civil grandee and a traditional Chinese physician. He still wore a silver fish pouch. However, Xiao Bei chose to ignore the latter point. She liked the gold fish pouch. Her own handiwork was good. After Li Longji rewarded Xiao Bei and the others according to their contributions, he thought about it and felt that he should compensate Zhang Xiaobao and Wang. He also gave Xiao Bei and the other 9 people a power. The original imperial censor was now the imperial censor and the chancellor of the Supreme Court. It sounded like a mess. Those who knew of this matter were even more afraid when they looked at Xiao Bei and the others. If the imperial censor could only impeach and could not arrest people, then the chancellor of the Supreme Court could directly judge the case. Naturally, no one believed that the emperor would give such power to the 9 children. It was still controlled by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang. Although the 9 children very coincidentally caught a spy who wanted to murder the emperor, would they know how to judge the case? After Xiao Bei figured out the power she had, she also considered this problem. Judging the case seemed to be very difficult. Xiao Yuan, you have to memorize the Yonghui Law and the 6 classics to avoid making a wrong judgment. You can't judge even if you memorize it. Do you think that you can write a case just because you have the power of the Chancellor of the Supreme Court? Do you know what a joint hearing is? Xiao Yuan poured a vat of cold water on Xiao Bei. There's such a thing? I don't care. I'll judge when I catch him. Xiao Yuan, let me ask you, do you want to be an official? A real official like your brother and sister. Let's work together and reserve a county to bring good fortune to the people. Xiao Bei decided not to follow the rules. She rolled her eyes and proposed another idea. Xiao Yuan shook her head vigorously. No, I don't have that ability. If you want to be an official, you can be one. Okay, I'll go talk to them. Xiao Bei made a big decision. Zhang Xiaobao did not pay much attention to the promotion of his younger siblings. Instead, he discussed the matter with Wang for a while, then looked for Li Longji to discuss it for 4 hours. When dawn broke the next day, Li Longji issued a series of decrees. The 40,000 people from the northern part of Hebei province were left to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang. The 10,000 people with the most unstable hearts were trained in the capital. The remaining 30,000 people were divided between Shandong province and Huainan province. 25,000 soldiers were transferred from the 2 provinces to Fengzhou to participate in the prefecture army drill. Chapter 8:28. After the trip to Mount Hua was over, they still chose to return by water. The canal that the fleet had taken was not frozen again. There were many small boats wandering on the surface of the river. As long as there was the slightest sign of ice, someone would smash it. Only when the imperial court's large ship passed by did the small boats approach the shore one after another, waiting obediently for inspection. Fish, fish, I see fish. Someone go and buy it. Xiao Bei, who was standing on the deck, rubbed his hands that were red from the cold. He put down his binoculars and ordered the person in charge of protecting him. This person immediately went to do it. It was not easy for other people to suddenly stop the current emperor's fleet, but Xiao Bei's ship was an exception. Xiao Bei imagined the scene of the big fish being placed on a plate after it was done and praised herself. Xiao Bei is really good to Xiao Yuan. Xiao Yuan loves to eat this the most. I'll go ask Uncle Emperor. Xiao Bei is a good child. He did as he said. A few ropes were shot from this ship to the ship in front, and a pontoon bridge was temporarily built. Under the protection of a few people, Xiao Bei switched to another ship. After doing this 2 more times, he finally arrived at the ship that Li Longji was on. Li Longji did not care about the cold outside and was enthusiastically admiring the endless scenery on both sides of the canal with a group of officials. The flowing water, the snow-white land, and the gray sky. When Li Longji looked at it, he felt that it was so beautiful and enchanting. Even the sparrows that flew around and chirped incessantly were more lively than before. Zhang Shuo, who had been feeling a little uneasy recently, did not stay too far away from Li Longji. He stood 2 steps behind Li Longji and admired the scenery together. However, he could not see anything that was pleasing to the eye. The river that was supposed to be frozen looked so glaring. In the distance, a field of white showed the bleakness of the earth. Who knew how many grains the sparrows had secretly eaten, but they were still so fat. The sky was so gloomy that it made people feel gloomy. Li Longji did not know what Zhang Shuo was thinking. In any case, he was happy, and anything he saw made him happy. Even the people who were anxiously selling things at high prices during the last few days before the new year became lively in his eyes. A commotion came from afar. Li Longji raised his binoculars and looked in that direction. He saw a person who had just arrived at the riverside market with a pole. Before the pole could be put down, he was surrounded by many people. Actually, it wasn't that far, only about 400 steps away. If it was in the past, no one would be allowed to get so close, as it could easily bring about danger. However, the ship was now equipped with guns that could fire continuously. There were also people observing the situation from the observation deck. Li Longji was confident that no one could get close enough to hurt him. 300 steps. That was the line between life and death. Therefore, they did not continue to disturb the people and allowed them to have a more peaceful time before the new year. Zhang Shuo, who was behind him, didn't understand the emperor's thoughts. When he saw the emperor looking over, he thought it was disgust. He quickly ordered the people around him, "Go, let the guards on the shore disperse those people." Just as the person who received the order was about to carry it out, Li Longji spoke up. "Wait a moment. Why is Minister Zhang chasing them away? Mortals disturb the emperor's heart. Your Majesty, this matter cannot be allowed to continue. Otherwise, how will the people know of your Majesty's majesty?" Zhang Shuo, who had always felt that he could see through the emperor's thoughts, was puzzled this time. He chose to say something good. Without waiting for Li Longji to speak, Xiao Bei, who had run all the way here unimpeded, heard Zhang Shuo's words and helped to refute. "Big bad Zhang. Oh, it's Lord Zhang who misspoke. Xiao Bei often heard my elder brothers and sisters say that the emperor's heart is the people's heart. The people are the most important, followed by the country, and the monarch is the least important. Only when the people are living well can it prove that Uncle Emperor is powerful. That person must have picked out mountain goods to sell and can sell them for a good price before the new year. If we chase them away, how are we going to spend the new year?" After saying this, Xiao Bei raised her head. She suddenly felt that she was not inferior to Xiao Yuan. She could also remember a lot of words that sounded good. Zhang Shao was very uncomfortable after being lectured by Xiao Bei, especially when he heard the way Xiao Bei addressed him. It was impossible to say that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had nothing to do with this matter. But he also knew that he could not lower himself to the same level as a child. He smiled and patted Xiao Bei's head. Xiao Bei really knows a lot. The market is also convenient for the people's daily business. Of course, if my elder brother says it's possible, then it's definitely possible. Building the bridge is convenient for the people, and there are more taxes. It's a good thing, especially for the merchants who come and go. They have earned enough money, so they should give some to the people. Xiao Bei dodged a few steps to the side. Her hair had been styled for 4 hours, so she couldn't let anyone mess it up. What if Big Bad Zhang stealthily took away the luminous pearl on the hairpin? Zhang Shua did not know what Xiao Bei was thinking. He continued to ask Xiao Bei with a smile. Then what if the merchants work together to deliberately lower the price? That's impossible. Between the clouds and the water and blue sea silver sand have already given the lowest price. If the merchants do not give enough, the sellers will organize themselves to sell to between the clouds and the water and blue sea silver sand. No one is a fool. The merchants will at least give the same price. Xiao Bei seemed to know a lot, so she explained to Zhang Shua. Then wouldn't between the clouds and the water lose money? Zhang Shua asked again. No, since there are people going to eat, we can just add the price to them. Aya, why are you so annoying? You don't stop asking. So what if it's a little wrong? Do you want to continue to be right? Elder brother and elder sister said that this is the rule. When a mistake is made to a certain extent, the new rule will definitely replace the old one. At worst, we could just use a new method. Time after time, it always keeps people on their toes. Xiao Bei answered 2 questions and felt annoyed. She came here with a purpose, not to chat with Zhang Shua. Although Zhang Shua, the prime minister, had an extraordinary position in many people's hearts that did not include her and her elder brothers and sisters. Zhang Shua was taken aback when he heard Xiao Bei's words. Xiao Bei might not have said it intentionally, but the listener took it seriously. He suddenly realized why he had been feeling uneasy recently. Ultimately, it was because of the position of Prime Minister, the head of the Secretariat. But ever since the Emperor had ascended the throne, there had not been a single Prime Minister who had been able to remain in this position for too long. Could it be that his time had come? No, this was absolutely impossible. He had to think of a way to continue staying in this position. Li Longji did not know what Zhang Shua was thinking, but he was happy when he saw Xiao Bei. In the entire Great Tang, it seemed that only the children of the Zhang family and Wang family were the most adorable. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo had grown up, and Xiao Bei's group of little fellows had begun to appear. Pulling Xiao Bei over, Li Longji squatted down and pointed to the faraway market. Why are there so many people there? Li Longji's answer was that it was almost the new year and that they were busy preparing for the new year. He thought that Xiao Bei would give the same answer. Unexpectedly, Xiao Bei chose a different answer. Because they have money. The lives of the common people are better than before, so they have more spare money to buy things. The new year is actually not a single night. It is a kind of spirit, a kind of inheritance that comes from the previous generations. As long as the common people know that they are homesick for the new year, this nation will not be defeated by others. It is very difficult for a nation without an inheritance to accumulate its own history and civilization. If one is not careful, it will be like a flash in the pan. Xiao Bei knows so much. Li Longji hugged Xiao Bei and praised him. It was Big Brother and Big Sister who said it. They also said that while it seems like celebrating the new year is a kind of habit, when you look deeper, you will realize that it comes from the solemnity of the soul. In any case, I don't understand. In any case, Big Brother and Big Sister will be very happy during the new year next year, and I will also be very happy. Xiao Bei could not understand too much, so he could only repeat. Li Longji was stunned by Wei Wei's words. He had not thought about it carefully before, but now that he thought about it, it really was the case. The dynasty had changed, but the new year had not. What he felt more was the happiness in his heart. Xiao Bei had spoken well. The lives of the common people were better than before, so he naturally had to take a large part of the credit. Giving Xiao Bei a big kiss, Li Longji amiably asked, Xiao Bei, you answered well. We want to reward you. Xiao Bei, what do you want? Really? Xiao Bei was excited. She already had her goal when she came here, but she did not know what to say. She did not expect that the task would be delivered to her. A monarch's words are not to be taken lightly. As long as we can do it, we will definitely do it. However, we cannot just randomly find someone to help you vent your anger. There must be evidence. For example, the people who were arrested last time, and the people who were first impeached by you. Li Longji had been in a good mood these past few days, so he very happily agreed. Xiao Bei waved her fist. Yay! Uncle Emperor, I will say it now. Xiao Bei wants an official position. Didn't you just get promoted? Li Longji did not expect that Xiao Bei would still want an official position. This official position could not be promoted anymore. How many people would be unconvinced if a group of children were given a fourth-rank official position? If the court officials did not understand that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's efforts and gains were considered small, they would have already killed themselves in the morning court. Xiao Bei stretched out 2 fingers, her thumb and index finger, and gestured. I don't want a high-ranking official. I want a low-ranking official. A very, very low-ranking one. A 7th rank or 8th rank official. Xiao Bei knows that people need to know how to restrain themselves. As the saying goes, a tree that stands out from the forest will be blown away by the wind. He right, Xiao Bei knows a lot. What kind of official position do you want? Li Longji was amused. He kissed Xiao Bei again and asked. A low-ranking one. For example, a county magistrate, deputy county magistrate, registrar, Cangji, and brush official are also fine. Isn't it very low-ranking? Xiao Bei and Xian Gij, Xiaozhu Gij, Xiaohai Gij, Xiaoning Gij, and Xiaoning Gij are not afraid of standing out from the forest. Xiao Bei had a very sensible look on her face as she seriously explained to Li Longji. Li Longji was stunned. Zhang Shuo, who had just recovered, was also stunned. Isn't this called standing out from the forest? How old were Xiao Bao and Cuckoo when they became the county magistrate and registrar respectively? They only got those positions after the 2 of them went on a killing expedition in Tubo. How much did Xiao Bao harm Tubo? How did Cuckoo get her nickname of Demon Demon? Those 2 positions were made from the blood of countless people. You also want them? Isn't this a joke? Xiao Bei found that the 2 people's expressions were not right. She lowered her head, thought for a while, and asked tentatively, Uncle Emperor, is it difficult? If it's really impossible, then forget it. When I told Xiao Yuan, he didn't agree. When we return to Jili province, I will learn from my brother and sister. When Xiao Bei said this, Li Longji suddenly reacted. After thinking for a while, he made a decision in his heart. It's not difficult at all. Who is our Xiao Bei? Isn't she the one that everyone loves? The one that flowers bloom when he sees her, the one that comes when he sees her, the one that comes when the sun shrouds the sky. Xiao Bei praised herself. Ha, yes, that's right. Minister Zhang, listen to my orders. Li Longji laughed heartily and said to Xiao Bei with a straight face, This official is here. Xiao Bei also had a serious expression as she blinked her big eyes and waited for her orders. I will abolish Jian and province's governor's office and set up 3 new counties. Zhang Xiaobei will be Jian and county magistrate. Wang Xiaoyun will be Jian and county registrar, and Uncle Emperor can't do it. Xiaoyuan can't be a registrar. Only Xiaohai Gij can be a registrar. Xiaoyuan doesn't know how to calculate. Oh, Your Majesty, please continue. Xiao Bei suddenly interrupted Li Longji's words. Thinking of the current situation, she became obedient. Oh, then Zhang Xiaohai will be Jian and county registrar, Xiaoyuan will be county magistrate, and Li Longji gave all 9 people their positions in one breath. Zhang Shuo wanted to stop him. Wouldn't this be child's play? If he gave them positions just like that, how would the other officials view him? However, when he heard that all the positions were from Jili province, Zhang Shuo gave up on the idea of stopping him. Now in Jili province, other than the official who was transferred from outside to be trained by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, all the other officials were from the inner court of the Zhang family and Wang family. Jian and province's governor's office was already in name only. There was no one left. What was the point of keeping it? If it was to be removed, then so be it. Since that was the case, when Xiao Bei and the others became officials, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would be in charge. He didn't believe that the two of them would dare to let Xiao Bei and the others manage a county. Xiao Bei solemnly promised that she would improve the intelligence of that place. Suddenly, she thought of the story told by her brother and sister and felt that she should share it with others. She then said to Li Longji, "Our Tang Empire is still very weak. My brother and sister said that on the other side of the sea, in a very, very far away place, there are powerful countries. They can make big birds that can carry hundreds of people and fly in the sky. They can also make fast fish that can swim underwater. They can also carry many people. If they attack us, we will be in trouble." Is there really such a place? How did Xiao Bao and Cuckoo know? Li Longji's originally happy mood was suddenly covered with a layer of shadow. If it was someone else who said this, he would definitely not take it to heart. However, since it was from Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, it was probably not wrong. He had seen the magical cannon, tried the hot air balloon, and also seen the glider that allowed people to fly back and forth. If there was a more powerful place, what should he do? I heard it from others. Xiao Bei replied, Yes, I heard it from others. Li Longji's first thought was of the experts from the Zhang clan and Wang clan. Could it be that the two of them had come from another place? That was really possible. The hot air balloon that carried the two of them had probably broken down and the two of them were unable to return. If that was really the case, then the two of them had been able to teach people like Xiao Bao and Cuckoo and create many things that had never been seen before. How many people like the two of them were there in that place? And how long had it taken them to develop? When he thought of this, Li Longji's blood immediately turned cold. He was afraid that even more people would come from that place. Would the great Tang be able to deal with them? Xiao Bei, hurry and call your brother and sister over. We have something to ask them. Li Longji wanted to confirm if what Xiao Bei had said was true. Oh, Uncle Emperor, wait a moment. I'll go right away. Uncle Emperor, can't you just send a signal? I'm also very tired from running back and forth. Xiao Bei replied. He turned around and ran 2 steps before suddenly stopping in his tracks. He felt that he was very foolish. The signal was sent, and it was quickly received by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. This telegram is really too difficult to make. Isn't it just a short circuit and a channel? It's really tiring to make. Those craftsmen who claim to be amazing haven't even mastered the principles after so long. What a waste of money. Let's go and see Li Longji. I wonder what he's up to this time. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang, one who was drawing the telegram, and felt dizzy. Wang Wan hadn't finished the telegram yet, and now that Li Longji had sent the message over, he could relax a little. Wang Wan rolled up the telegram and rubbed her temples. As she walked out with Zhang Xiaobao, she said, The conditions are tough now, and we have to work hard to overcome them. Back then, simple things are difficult here. It's a problem with the raw materials, and we have to work hard. Did something happen to Little Bei again? Someone just reported that Little Bei went over. When the two of them arrived at Li Longji's ship and listened to Li Longji's story, they finally understood what was going on. In order not to make Little Bei and the others proud, they did not think too much when they told stories. They even told them about planes, submarines, and other things. Naturally, the place they appeared in was a powerful country overseas. They did not expect Li Longji to believe them. The two of them looked at each other and reached an agreement. Then, they began to tell Li Longji about how planes flew, how submarines could travel underwater, the power of missiles, and the speed of torpedoes. Can we really attack from Luzhou to the capital? Li Longji was frightened. Wasn't that too far? Li Longji broke out in cold sweat when he thought about the situation when he encountered such a weapon. If the people from that faraway place attacked, how could he defend himself? Of course, it's very powerful, but Zhang Xiaobao felt that he had scared Li Longji enough. He should at least give Li Longji some hope. However, if my great Tang develops another weapon, we can detect their missiles ahead of time and intercept them. We can also mark out a place on the ocean so that as long as they reach that place, we can attack them and not let them get too close. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang did not mention satellites and intercontinental ballistic missiles. Li Longji was not confident, let alone nuclear bombs. Otherwise, with an intercontinental ballistic missile and a nuclear bomb, the capital would be gone with a bang. Li Longji would have to live to his heart's content while he was still alive. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang hoped that Li Longji would maintain his current shrewdness and not be like the people in history who would relax after reaching a certain age and think that Great Tang was invincible. No matter how tired Li Longji was, he could not guess what the two were thinking. When he heard that there was a way to intercept them, he placed his hopes on this matter. Xiaobao, Cuckoo, tell me the truth. Do you know when they will attack? At least 40 years, right? It's not easy to get here. I heard from Master that the two of them were already in a lot of trouble and almost died on the way. Oh, Master saw them in a dream. Zhang Xiaobao said seriously to Li Longji. Wang had a heavy expression as if this was true. However, in her heart, she was cursing Zhang Xiaobao's shamelessness. If not for the fact that Zhang Xiaobao wanted to conquer the entire Eurasian continent in his lifetime, why would he make up such a lie? Li Longji's face was a little pale. He nodded and said, That's good, that's good. Hurry up and create something that can intercept them. Tell us what you need. Li Longji did not believe in Zhang Xiaobao's dream at all. In his heart, he had already acknowledged the existence of experts from the Zhang family and Wang clan. As a liar, Zhang Xiaobao knew that Li Longji did not trust him that much. He had to come up with something even more miraculous. When he thought about the telegraph machine that Wang had asked people to create, he suddenly had an idea. Your Majesty, that thing is not easy to make. It requires more craftsmen and materials. Some of the materials might not be available in Great Tang, but this subject feels that if we continue to head east and north, we should be able to find them. Adjunct Wang and this subject are currently thinking of something new. Your Majesty will know once we make it. I heard from Master in this subject dream that this thing is very common in that place. In fact, it might not even be used. It can be used to receive news from the other side within a few breaths of time. Your Majesty, there's no need to be anxious. We should first stabilize the situation. At the very least, there aren't any powerful countries in the surrounding area. Minister Zhang's words are correct. Hurry up and make that thing so that we can take a look. Li Longji didn't know what to feel at this time. He wanted to believe in Zhang Xiaobao and Wang, but he also felt that this was a little unreliable. If he said that he didn't believe in them, he would have to admit that many things were made. Thus, he could only decide to take a look. If there really was something that could send news from 100 li away, no matter what, he had to find a way to support the two of them in finding craftsmen to make this amazing thing. At this point, the conversation between the three of them came to an end. After successfully swindling Li Longji, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang returned to their ships. Li Longji waited for the two of them to leave for 15 minutes before emerging from the cabin. There was no longer any trace of joy on his face, and his eyes were very grave. When someone came to report that Zhu Zan and Cheetah were very obedient, he only nodded. He looked at the ships of the surrounding countries and gave a self-mocking smile. Small countries, just small countries. If they're destroyed, then so be it. Who dares to disobey the might of cannons? They're just fish and shrimp in the river. So how could they know the vastness of the ocean? If I tell them about missiles, they'll be scared to death. Li Longji muttered to himself. He suddenly realized that he didn't need to care about the Tufan and the Turkic Khaganate anymore. Hurry up and do it. Didn't you say that telegrams are easy to make? Do it first and let Li Longji see it. Even if you want to lie, you have to make sure that it's true and false. After returning to the cabin, Zhang Xiaobao urged Wang as he ground an ink stick. What's the hurry? If you can do it, you can do the drawing. Things aren't as simple as you think. I reckon that this game between us and Li Longji will last for a very long time. As long as we can get the telegram out and make him believe it, we can gradually raise the foundation of the entire industrial system. He will be constantly afraid of us. It's really not easy. What if there's a gap in the technological tree? Wang asked Zhang Xiaobao as she unfolded the drawing once more. She picked up the brush and prepared to continue. Zhang Xiaobao rubbed the brush a few times with all his might but he didn't find any effect. He slowed down again and replied, "Back when we were making the atomic bomb, our other industrial systems couldn't keep up, but didn't we still manage to make it? It's the same now. Back then, it wasn't that we couldn't keep up. It was those 10 years that caused us to suffer. How many decades do we have in life? How many times do we still have ambitions? Forget it. It's all in the past. It's useless to talk about it anymore. You should think of a way to make a special place. Don't put enchanting. I always feel that that place is not under our control." Wang Wan's words were filled with endless resentment and regret. After saying this, she changed the topic. Zhang Xiaobao stopped what he was doing. He closed his eyes and thought for a while. He said, "We can't put it in the seaside. Let's put the industrial base in Sanshui County. There are mountains behind it. Throw in the mountains. When the children in Zhuangzi who have studied physics and chemistry are older and have mastered all the high school knowledge, we can let them join." "That's the only way," Wang Wan replied. She began to think about her telegraph machine again. This thing was not difficult. The principle was there. But when it came to making it, the craftsmen couldn't keep up with it. It was often a very simple problem. If they wanted to understand it thoroughly, they usually needed more knowledge to explain it. After a few days of sailing, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were busy. Xiao Bei and the others were excited. Li Longji returned to the capital with a lot on his mind. To be honest, Zhu Zan and Mo Julian had never seen the prosperity of the capital. The information they got from others was far less shocking than seeing it with their own eyes. From the outside, there was not a single trace of brick or stone on the high city walls. It was as flat as a mirror. Pedestrians shuttled back and forth on the wide streets, and carriages kept moving. The trees on the sides of the roads, the gutters used for drainage, and the places where people walked on bricks made people feel that this was a very magical place. The first impression of people who had never been to the Tang Empire's capital was that it was big. It was very big, so big that it was a little scary. They didn't know how many people such a city could hold. The second feeling was wealth. Not a single person was begging on the streets. Everyone was wearing beautiful clothes, especially the women. They were wearing clothes that looked like they would freeze to death in winter, but they were actually so alluring. Mo Jillian really wanted to enter the palace to take a look. He didn't have the chance. He only took a few glances in the morning court. He didn't understand. Previously, when he came to the capital, he couldn't lift the curtains and look outside. At that time, he was sitting in a sealed carriage. Since the other places in the capital were so good, the palace would be even better. But Li Longji didn't give them such an opportunity. At least, he couldn't give it to them now. He needed to let them walk around the capital. After they were shocked enough, he would bring them to Xingqing Palace and let them see what an extraordinary place was. The matter of arranging accommodation for others naturally didn't need Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. The two of them brought their families back to Savant's restaurant. At this time, their families had already arrived. Zhang Zhong knew that his son and daughter-in-law had returned. He personally went to the entrance of the restaurant to welcome them. Seeing his son who had grown taller, his face was full of smiles. We're home. Xiao Bei happily jumped into the arms of Jiang Wang clan and kissed her mother. They hadn't seen each other for a long time. She also missed her mother. She was much more sensible now. Io, Xiao Bei has grown so big. Annie won't be able to carry you anymore. Jiang Wang clan hugged Xiao Bei and said happily, I can carry you. Xiao Bei learned from brother. My body seems to be weightless. Mother, Xiao Bei knows how to cook. Chives and scrambled eggs. Brother even praised Xiao Bei for it. Xiao Bei hugged Jiang Wang clan's neck and said excitedly. Seeing that her daughter wasn't shy with strangers, Jiang Wang clan carried Xiao Bei upstairs and praised her. Xiao Bei was so happy that her face bloomed like a flower. After everyone had settled down, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan found their father. They gathered together and discussed their positions after the new year. Father, which ministry do you want to be a minister? Zhang Xiaobao poured tea for the two families. He looked at his father and asked, Father, which ministry do you want to be a minister? When Father Zhang heard his son's words, he fell silent. He also didn't know which place was suitable for him. When he was in Luoyang, he didn't encounter the situation that he had mentioned earlier. No one tried to trip him up. Every time he had an idea, he would always be able to get support. Zhang Zhong understood that this wasn't because he was capable, but because his son and daughter-in-law worked hard outside. Everyone was afraid of his two children. He hadn't been idle during this period of time and had learned a lot. If he were to look at the 6 ministries, it seemed that any one of them would do. He mainly wanted to see what his son had in mind. While Zhang Zhong was thinking, Zhang Xiaobao wasn't in a hurry. He waited quietly. After almost 15 minutes, Zhang Zhong said, "Xiaobao, which ministry do you think is suitable for me to go to?" "Ah, you're asking me? I think the Ministry of Works should be a minister. My father-in-law can go to the Ministry of War and be an assistant minister. If you feel tired, you can go to the Ministry of Rights." Zhang Xiaobao thought about it and decided on his father's position. As for Wang Wan's father, he couldn't let him be an official that was too high. He wasn't cut out for it, and it had nothing to do with knowledge. It would be fine if he could be like Yang Guozhong, but he couldn't compare. As for the Ministry of Works, it was because his plan required a lot of craftsmen. The imperial court would definitely not let them go. If it was an incompetent official who was always looking for trouble, he might as well let his father be it. Wang Wan nodded in support. "I think it's fine. He can go to the Ministry of Works as a minister. As for my father, he can go to the Ministry of Rights. There are too many things to do at the Ministry of War. My father will be tired." Father Wang didn't say anything. He knew that if he really relied on his own abilities, he wouldn't even be able to become an official, much less an assistant minister. All of this was because he had a good daughter. He didn't have any hopes in this life. In the future, he would have to rely on his son, Xiao Yuan. He believed that with Xiao Yuan's photographic memory and his daughter's and son-in-law's abilities, he would definitely be able to obtain a very good future. Seeing that his son had set his sights on the Ministry of Works, Zhang Zhong nodded and agreed. "Since that's the case, I'll listen to my son, Xiaobao." These words were said very casually. After he finished speaking, Zhang Zhong looked at Zhang Wang clan and suddenly felt an inexplicable feeling. Zhang Wang clan replied with a smile. She understood what she meant. Zhang Zhong sighed inwardly. He didn't know what to say. What was he discussing with his son just now? It was about the ownership of a minister in the capital. Normally, this kind of problem couldn't be discussed in his own home. When he was preparing to rely on the imperial examinations, he never thought that there would be a day like this. The ownership of a minister depended on his son. It could be said that it was decided. This should be considered bringing honor to the ancestors, right? Looking at the other 9 children sitting obediently beside him, Zhang Zhong felt as if he was in a dream. Not long ago, he would have thought about today's matter. Zhang Xiaobao didn't have any other thoughts. "Okay, then it's decided. Father, you haven't eaten yet, right? I'll go and prepare now." As he spoke, Zhang Xiaobao stood up and walked outside. Wang Wan naturally followed. When the two were about to walk out of the door, Zhang Xiaobao suddenly shouted, "Brother, I want to eat vinegar." After Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan left, the old master of the Zhang family picked up his teacup and leisurely blew twice. He tried to use a calm tone as he said, "The position of minister has been decided just like that? Will someone try to steal it from my son?" Zhang Zhong hurriedly comforted him. "Father, no one can steal it. If Xiaobao says it's the minister, then it's the minister. If he says it's the Ministry of Works, then it can't be the Ministry of Revenue. I believe in Xiaobao." These words happened to be heard by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who were not too far away. Wang Wan pursed her lips and smiled. "It seems that your status in the family is getting higher and higher. You could decide the position of minister. What's the point of being minister? If you really annoy me, I can even decide the position of emperor. And that, since you already know my ability, you have to listen to me more in the future. You can't refute me. Do you understand?" Zhang Xiaobao raised his head and puffed out his chest, trying hard to show a proud appearance. "Yes, this concubine understands. Does my husband have anything else to say?" Wang Wan knew that she could spend a few more days with her family. In her happiness, she compromised a little to give Zhang Xiaobao some face. Zhang Xiaobao nodded and said, "You're quite obedient. Since that's the case, I'll invade you tonight." "Bah, your face is really big. Do you want to sleep on the floor? I'll stay with my mother today." You can go wherever you want. Isn't that giving you some sunshine? Let's go. What are you waiting for? Go, go. We'll go now. Madam, please calm down. I'll make your favorite cucumber with garlic sauce later. Zhang Xiaobao stopped while he was ahead. It was good to satisfy his craving for food. When Zhang family and Wang family were happy, Empress Wang was also very happy. It was not easy to stay in the palace. She came out and went to Savant's pavilion to see her son and daughter. The two little ones had grown up a lot and could call out mother. They could keep up with the nutrition. In addition, there was a reasonable way to train the babies. Now, the two little ones could already run. They could run, but they did not know how to walk. Once they walked, they would fall. When they ran, they could not stop themselves. If they did, they would fall. Someone had to be in front of them to stop them. When she saw the two little ones, Empress Wang was happy and sad. She was happy because the two little ones were not bad. They were white and chubby. Their little hands were moving and could make several kinds of hand gestures. He was sad that his own children didn't recognize him. He fed Softy something edible and took out toys to play with. Only then did the two little fellows let him hug them. These were his own son and daughter. After seeing her son and daughter, Empress Wang did not want to return to the palace. She insisted on staying outside for a few more days to accompany the two little ones. Wang also agreed. After all, the more time the two of them spent together, the less the novelty would be. It was just right for Empress Wang to be separated from Li Longji for 10 to 15 days. Maybe after they went back, they could give birth to twins. That would be lively. Li Longji also took some time to come out and see his son and daughter. His son was very good-looking. He was not inferior to Li Yi in the past. In fact, he was even cuter now that he had grown up. Li Longji, who did not care much about women, changed his mind when he saw Pan Er. This was not because Pan Er was good-looking, but because of Princess Jinsheng, who said that a married princess could not come back, who said that the women of the imperial clan would be bullied outside. Just look at Princess Jinsheng and ask Zhu Zan if he dared to bully her. All of this was strength, overwhelming strength. Dignity was gained from the roar of the cannons. After amiably chatting with the Zhang family and Wang family for a while, they decided that after the new year, Zhang Zhong would enter the imperial court and become the Minister of Works. Li Longji left happily. After returning, it was unknown who leaked this matter. When they heard that Zhang Zhong had returned from Luoyang, he did not even greet anyone and was going to become the Minister of Works. The jealous people glared at him until their eyes were as red as the robes of the fourth-rank officials. Before the new year, when the holidays were about to start, many memorials were sent to Gao Lishur. He did not say anything. Although he was the head of the secretariat, many of the memorials that required the emperor's approval were all approved by Gao Lishur. Recently, he had not been able to sleep well. He was afraid that he would do something wrong again and offend someone he should not offend. When the time came, he would lose his official position. Now, he did not want to compete with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan anymore. He only hoped that the two of them would not have any ideas about him. Li Longji seemed to have known that this kind of thing would happen. He told Gao Lishur in advance not to let this kind of thing disturb him. He began to look at the various rare animals and plants that were sent back from the south. These things that he did not even dare to think about before appeared in front of him. He could only sigh at the many things that he did not know about in the distant sea. At the same time, he was even more certain about the existence of that country that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had told him about. When the two of them created that thing that could transmit information from 100 kilometers away, then they would begin to carry out that thing called the Industrial Revolution on a national scale. Chapter 829. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. The festive atmosphere started on the 30th and continued to the 15th of the first lunar month. The appearance of the ice lanterns everywhere made the people of the surrounding countries feel the brilliance of the Great Tang once again. More people paid attention to the light bulb, wanted to understand why it lit up, especially Exine Luo in Japan. These two countries were temporarily not under the command of the Great Tang, so they were a little ambitious. What they wanted to know the most was whether this light bulb would be used in war and what it would look like when it was used. Li Longji naturally couldn't tell them. Even if he wanted to tell them, they wouldn't understand. This light bulb was made by the Zhang family and Wang family, and the palace was also using it. However, they only knew how and didn't know why. Zuzan asked for a set and returned to his courtyard in the capital. He planned to return to Tubo after the 2nd of February. During this period of time, he could learn more about new things and see which one could be used in Tubo. Princess Jinqing still helped to inquire about information, but instead of looking for the enemy of the Zhang family and Wang family, she changed to looking for something good to help Tubo. The first thing she found was a washing machine. There was also a small river that didn't flow too fast in Zuzan's courtyard. It was a place for entertainment. After putting it up and seeing that it couldn't move, she found Zhang Xiaobao and changed it to a wind-powered one with the help of the craftsman. Ignoring the cold weather, she poured water for the washing machine in the courtyard and threw the clothes in. Then, she added the washing powder provided by the Zhang family and Wang family and watched the washing machine spin. Zuzan looked at the washing machine curiously and then looked at the light bulb. Aren't these the same thing? They are both blown by the wind. Why can one light up to replace candles and the other can wash clothes? How would Princess Jinqing know? Hearing Zuzan's words, she shook her head and said, Zanpu, this should be the benefits of the industrial system that Xiaobao and Cuckoo mentioned. Now, it can only be used by the rich and powerful. Where there is still a need for wind or rivers, in a few years, ordinary people will be able to use it too. Yes, just like that marsh gas, the people of the Great Tang will be more and more comfortable in the future. Zuzan sighed. Right now, he no longer cared about anything else. He only hoped that after Tubo joined the Great Tang, the people of Tubo would be able to receive the same benefits as the people of the Great Tang. His original ambition had been completely crushed by reality. Princess Jinqing didn't know what Zhu Zanqi was thinking. Seeing so many good things, she said to Zhu Zanqi with a worried expression, Zanpu, does Tubo still want to be enemies with Great Tang? I wonder how the Turks are doing. Commissioner K isn't someone who gives up so easily. So what if he doesn't? Could he withstand the bombardment of the Great Tang's artillery? Could he stop the hot air balloons and gliders in the sky? Those two things flying in the sky can throw cannonball-like things down. There are the grenades, the weapons that blew up many of our Tubo people. Zhu Zanqi seemed to want to stand on the side of the Great Tang. It also seemed like he wanted to find a reason for his compromise. If the Turks dared to not agree to Li Longji's request and started a war with the Great Tang, he would be able to comfort himself. It wasn't that he wasn't capable, it was that the Great Tang was too powerful. He couldn't return to the capital yet, but Tu also thought the same. He was very clear that even if Li Longji had the initiative now, he wouldn't let him return to the Song Mo Commander-in-Chief's manor immediately. When the Heishui Commander-in-Chief's manor was taken down and the army turned around, that would be the time for him to return. At that time, even if he was the reincarnation of Chu Boang, he wouldn't be able to turn the situation around. More importantly, it would depend on the reaction of the Turks. If the Turks still wanted to fight, he couldn't return either. He was afraid that he would throw himself into the arms of the Turks. Sigh. Actually, there's no need to do this. I've had enough. I don't want to cause any more trouble. Tu thought about it and said sullenly. After the new year, Zhang Zhong unquestionably entered the Ministry of Works and took up the position of Minister of Shangshu. It turned out that the other people in the Ministry of Works didn't move. Some of these people didn't have any achievements. No matter what, they wouldn't be able to become Minister of Shangshu. Whoever was willing to take up the position would take it. Some of them had built good relations with the previous Minister of Shangshu. Just as they were thinking of taking a step forward in the new year, the person who had received benefit from them was gone. Instead, it was someone they weren't familiar with, or rather, someone they had never dealt with before. Naturally, they were very unhappy. Fan Yu was one of the people who was unhappy. As the registrar of the Ministry of Works, he thought that he would be able to advance further this year. In the end, when he saw Zhang Zhong, who had been a high-ranking official in Luoyang, come to the capital, he couldn't sleep well for several days. Fan Yu knew Zhang Zhong's identity. He also knew that his son was Zhang Xiaobao and his daughter-in-law was Wang Wan. But so what? Could it be that everything in the Great Tang was decided by them? What did Zhang Zhong do to deserve the position of Minister of Shangshu? Did you know what the Ministry of Works did? Others had to learn step by step and work hard. What right did you have to change your position just because you had a formidable son? Fan, you had an aura of someone who could be killed, but not humiliated. The more he looked at Zhang Zhong, the more he found him to be an eyesore. Even though Zhang Zhong had treated him to a meal at Savant's restaurant and promised that as long as he did a good job, he would be able to receive good things from the Zhang clan and Wang clan in the future. Savant's restaurant's food and wine are good, but that isn't a reason for me, Fan Yu, to bend my knees. No matter what, I can't let him have an easy time. Does he know the importance of secretary? After eating his fill, Fan Yu returned to the office of the Ministry of Works. He brewed a pot of Maojian tea that Zhang Zhong had specially provided for him today and started to think about how he could create trouble for Zhang Zhong. The secretary was naturally in charge of a part of the account books. There were records of the finances of the Ministry of Works, as well as the inventory and consumption of various items. Thus, Fan Yu set her sights on this. When the time came, Zhang Zhong wouldn't be able to know exactly how much money the Ministry of Works had left. He wouldn't know how many items they had in stock. Fan Yu dug out the accounts one by one and started messing them up. Of course, he had marked down all the areas that he messed up so that he wouldn't be confused when he needed the real data. In the end, when Zhang Zhong was checking on the various matters in various places in the afternoon, he was confused by a few accounts. Whenever he asked, Fan Yu would push all the blame to the previous one, saying that this was what she had done in the past and that it had been passed. That's not right. Didn't the Ministry of Works have 16,500 strings of coins in its account books? Why is there only 4,000 strings of coins left? Where did the money go? When Zhang Zhong saw the final number of the account books, he was puzzled. He turned his head and asked Fan Yu. Fan Yu had a puzzled look on her face. She meant that she didn't know either. Zhang Zhong thought for a while and nodded. All right, let's leave it at that for now. We'll talk about it tomorrow. It's already late today, so go back first. Bring the things I gave you back earlier. In the future, when the Ministry of Works produces better products, there will be other benefits too. Fan Yu replied and didn't say anything else. She packed up and left with the things Zhang Zhong gave her. A person's heart is never satisfied. Zhang Zhong put down the account books and sighed. He understood everything. Originally, he wanted to get along well with his subordinates and help his son build up the industrial system bit by bit. He didn't want to start dealing with people right away. But in the end, things turned out like this. Zhang Zhong, who had let his subordinates get off work earlier, wasn't afraid that someone would impeach him because of this matter. He also packed up. He didn't plan to work today and wanted everyone to familiarize themselves with each other. Later on, he would find someone to check the background of everyone in the Ministry of Works. He had to record down who was in each family. He even had to record their parents' birthdays. He was concerned about his subordinates. He had done this many times in the past, and the results were pretty good. After returning to Savant's restaurant, Zhang Zhong casually told his son about this matter during dinner. He didn't need his son to help him deal with a registrar official. He could do it himself. It wasn't like he hadn't done it before. The reason why Zhang Xiaobao hadn't returned to Jili province yet was because he was worried that his father's position wouldn't be good. He was afraid that his father's heart would soften. He wanted to wait for his father to settle the matters in the Ministry of Works before leaving. He estimated that it would take about half a month. When he heard his father talking about Fan Yu, he nodded and didn't say anything. She was just a small character, so there was no need to care too much about her. It would be easy for his father to deal with her. At night, he casually chatted with his family for a while before returning to his room to sleep. Who knew that the next morning, right after Zhang Zhong left, Xiao Bei and her team followed him out. Her angry expression made those who knew her know that someone was going to be unlucky. Brother, when the time comes, you have to take a good look at the account books and find out what's wrong so that I can teach him a lesson. He actually dared to play tricks on my father and bully the Zhang family? On the way to the Ministry of Works, Xiao Bei's eyes widened as she discussed with Xiao Hai. Xiao Hai nodded. For the past half a year, he was the one who did most of the accounts. Now, he could still do the accounts that weren't too complicated and didn't make any mistakes. If he couldn't do it, he would ask his brother and sister. With the difficulty of the accounts that his brother and sister were doing, it shouldn't be difficult to deal with the accounts of the Ministry of Works. Xiao Yuan and the others were also very excited. They could finally open for business again. It wasn't easy to meet one during normal times. They didn't expect that they would be able to continuously have business before and after the new year. Zhang Zhong still didn't know that his son and nephew had come to help. He smoothly entered the Ministry of Works. The gatekeepers also got some benefits and didn't make things difficult for him like Fan Yu. He didn't dare to do anything like Fan Yu. Right after Zhang Zhong entered, Xiao Bei and the others arrived. They got off the carriage and walked straight in. The 100 children formed a team of guards and stood in a square formation to protect them. The gatekeepers of the Ministry of Works really didn't know who Xiao Bei was. If it was the guards of Xingqing Palace, they definitely wouldn't stop them. Instead, they would quickly go in and report to the emperor. Xiao Bei was now able to walk freely in the palace. He could go anywhere. Whose child is this? We're the adults. This is an important place in the Ministry of Works. You can't enter. The gatekeepers blocked Xiao Bei and tried to persuade him. Xiao Bei didn't bully them. He took out a token and waved it in front of the gatekeepers. I'm Zhang Xiao Bei. My brother is Zhang Xiao Bao. Today, I'm here to find trouble with the secretary of the Ministry of Works, Fan Yu. If you're not with him, then move aside. If you're with him, so it's Lord Zhang. Please come in. Do you need me to help report your arrival? The gatekeepers finally knew what the legendary Xiao Bei looked like. He quickly moved aside. He didn't believe that anyone would dare to impersonate Xiao Bei. Moreover, the 9 children were all here. That kind of aura of being pampered was not something that an ordinary person could fake. In addition, there were also 100 guards. As for whether the token was real or fake, he didn't see it clearly. Seeing Xiao Bei and the others walk in, the gatekeepers started to mourn for Fan Yu. He knew who Fan Yu was. She was the secretary of the Ministry of Works. It seemed that she was looking for trouble with the newcomer, Zhang Zhong. He already said that the old man had come out after beating the young one. Now that the old man hadn't done anything, the young one had already rushed forward. Zhang Zhong didn't directly look for Fan Yu. He planned to arrange his work for today first. He first went to his office and waited for the morning assembly. The sky was about to brighten. He needed to stay in his office to keep warm so that he wouldn't catch a cold. Fan Yu naturally didn't have the qualifications to attend the assembly. She was a 5th rank official, so she came a little late. She just arrived a little later than Zhang Zhong. She had already prepared her speech and was just waiting for Zhang Zhong to come and find trouble. In the end, Zhang Zhong didn't come. Instead, it was Xiao Bei and the others who got lost and only found the place after a long time. When Xiao Bei and the others entered the room, everyone who was working the room stopped what they were doing and looked at the group of children in confusion. Where did this group of children come from? Who is Fan Yu? You're the secretary of the Ministry of Works? Xiao Bei looked around and asked, Who are you? Fan Yu frowned and asked in return when she saw that someone was asking her by name. Xiao Bei looked at the person who spoke. It seems that you are the secretary. Left and right, where are you? Take her down. Understood. As Xiao Bei's voice fell, a chorus of voices rang out from outside. Then, over 20 children rushed in. Under Xiao Bei's instructions, they ran toward Fan Yu, and before Fan Yu could figure out what was going on, she was already on the ground. She was handcuffed and pressed down on him. He tried a few times and was finally pinned down. While the others were puzzled and didn't know how to react, Xiao Bei clasped his hands behind his back and slowly said, This official is a physician and only knows about the matters of the Supreme Court. This official suspects that Fan Yu is bullying his superiors and tampering with the accounts. Does anyone have anything to say? The moment Xiao Bei mentioned his official position, the people from the Ministry of Works immediately knew who he was. Why was this legendary little ancestor here? And he even captured Fan Yu? It was over. They didn't know how Fan Yu had offended someone and offended them. Not to mention that they had evidence, even if they didn't say anything, who in the Ministry of Works didn't give them some benefits. They didn't even investigate. Everyone knew that. Moreover, those benefits weren't worth much. If they really investigated, it wouldn't be worth it. Even the emperor wouldn't care. It would just be a smile. But today, Fan Yu was being targeted by Zhang Xiaobei. This wasn't the case. Everything must be investigated and strictly investigated. From the looks of it, who did he offend? Oh, so that was the case. Fan Yu had offended Minister Zhang. Fan Yu was still not convinced and continued to struggle. You said that I did, and I did? What evidence do you have? Even if I did, you can't arrest me. There needs to be a joint trial. Che, are you bullying me because I don't know? There needs to be a joint trial. If I arrest you, can't the Supreme Court arrest you? Today, I'll give you a joint trial. You don't usually have the chance to attend court, right? I'll give you a chance. Take him away. I'll go and talk to Uncle Emperor. My father has just arrived, and someone wants to bully him. How can I let this go? With Xiao Bei's words, Fan Yu was forced to Hanyuan Palace Hall by Xiao Bei and the others without anyone interceding. At this time, the morning court session had already started. All the officials of the 5th rank and above had come here to stand in line. Zhang Zhong also stood slightly at the front, waiting for the discussion. After the morning court session, he probably had to meet with the emperor for a small meeting. Li Longji rushed over in his carriage. Just as he sat down, and before he could say anything, he saw over 100 people rushing in. There was even a person being carried. When he took a closer look, it was actually a child. He recognized the person in the lead, Zhang Xiaobei. Because of Xiaobei's appearance, Li Longji could no longer keep a straight face. He didn't know what was wrong with Xiaobei. This was the first time that he came at such a time. He coughed and asked, "Official Zhang, why did you come to court today?" All the officials turned their heads to look. When they heard the emperor's words and saw the angry Xiaobei, they wanted to laugh but held it in. Zhang Zhong also saw his daughter and saw Fan Yu being carried by people. He immediately understood what had happened. His daughter must have remembered what he said during dinner yesterday and went to find trouble with Fan Yu in the morning. Helplessly shaking his head, Zhang Zhong shouted at Xiaobei, "Xiaobei, what are you doing? Why aren't you withdrawing?" Xiaobei didn't care about what his father said. He raised his head and said to Zhang Zhong, "Minister Zhang, this official is the imperial censor and also the high commissioner of the Supreme Court. I have the responsibility to supervise all the officials. I hope that Minister Zhang will not overstep his authority." After speaking to his father, Xiaobei didn't look at his father's glare and turned to Li Longji. "Your Majesty, this official has just found out that the registrar of the Ministry of Works, Fan Yu, is acting improperly and the accounts are unclear. This official requests for a joint investigation." The officials were stunned. They didn't expect that Xiaobei would directly arrest Fan Yu and bring her to the palace hall. From the meaning of his words, it seemed that Fan Yu had offended Zhang Zhong. Many people looked at Zhang Zhong. It would be a lie if they said that they weren't jealous. Look at his children. Their father didn't even need to do anything himself, and a bunch of brats would do it for him. Li Longji was stunned for a moment. After pondering for a moment, he immediately understood. This registrar of the Ministry of Works called Fan Yu saw that Zhang Zhong was young and was new to the Ministry of Works. She wanted to find trouble for him. Zhang Zhong should have mentioned this to Xiao Bao when he went back. In the end, Xiao Bei heard it and chased after her to arrest her. Li Longji looked at Fan Yu from afar. If Xiao Bei hadn't caught her, he wouldn't have known who Fan Yu was. Seeing that Fan Yu was still struggling, Li Longji's expression sank. Without a good industrial system, there wouldn't be good weapons. Without good weapons, there wouldn't be any way to intercept a missile. What was Fan Yu trying to do? Recommended book, Tai Sui Rebirth. Chapter 830. As a registrar of the Ministry of Works, Fan Yu's greatest opportunity to show his face appeared in Hanyuan Palace Hall. Following that, he was like a small stone thrown into the ocean. Before the waves could splash much, he was submerged in the tide. As for how much of an impact it had nothing to do with him. Xiao Bei left the morning court in satisfaction. She did not participate in any of the court affairs. She wanted to return to Savant's restaurant as soon as possible and find her brother and sister for help. In the court, she had always addressed her father as Minister Zhang. To her, there was nothing more terrifying than this in the world. The sky was falling. She had to conduct a public relations crisis after the morning court ended. The situation was very grim. The morning court in Hanyuan Palace Hall continued as usual. Zhang Zhong was not in the mood to think about how to deal with his daughter. He wanted to let more people agree with his proposal to change the Ministry of Works. When Li Longji finished dealing with the several memorials presented, the first to speak was Zhang Zhong. He held a piece of paper in his hand and read them out one by one. In the end, he requested for the country's finance to allocate funds. 4 million strings of cash. Li Longji was shocked by Zhang Zhong's words. The country's financial income had increased in the past 2 years. Compared to the past, it could be said to be a world of difference. However, to take out 4 million strings of cash at once for one of the 6 ministries seemed to be a little too much. Zhang Zhong also knew that he had opened his mouth too wide. He quickly explained, "Your Majesty, the 4 million strings of cash that I mentioned is a one-time solution. In the future, Your Majesty does not need to take out a single copper coin for the Ministry of Works to be self-reliant. In 2 years, we will definitely be able to recover the money invested. Your Majesty, I feel that this cannot be done." Just as Zhang Zhong finished speaking, Zhang Shuo jumped out and directly objected. All the officials focused their gazes on Zhang Zhong. They wanted to see if the Prime Minister would emerge victorious in his first official confrontation with Zhang Zhong. Zhang Shuo felt very helpless. He should not have been the first to object. Instead, it should have been one of his subordinates. He had already used his body language to send the signal. Usually, his subordinates would know what to do as long as they saw his signal. However, it was strange today. His subordinates seemed to have bad eyesight and were in a daze. No one stood up to speak. Gao Lisher also saw this situation. He was very clear in his heart. As the saying goes, one should be soft-hearted after taking advantage of others. Which one of the people who could appear in a morning court had not received benefits from the Zhang family and Wang family? If you don't believe me, you can go house by house and see which house doesn't have furniture with the Zhang family's and Wang family's logos worth a few thousand strings of coins. Today was the first time that Zhang Zhong had attended a court meeting. If anyone dared to cause trouble at this crucial moment, they could forget about counting on the Zhang family and Wang family to continue giving them benefits in the future. Coupled with Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's vengeful personalities, there was bound to be an outcome. Just as Gao Lisher had guessed, the people belonging to Zhang Xiaobao's faction did indeed have such thoughts. They could refuse the things given by the Zhang and Wang families, but they did not dare to offend Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Did they not see what happened to Fan Yu just now? The emperor did not even have the mood to investigate further. He directly sentenced Fan Yu to be exiled to Lingnan. Everyone who was not sent to Luzhou yearned for Fan Yu. This could be considered as sparing Fan Yu's life. Otherwise, when the locals heard that Fan Yu had offended Provincial Governor Zhang, the consequences were self-evident. Li Longji did not say anything. He was waiting for Zhang Shuo to say something. He could not just object because he wanted to. He needed a reason. After Zhang Shuo finished his objection, he was actually waiting for his people to stand out and agree with him. In the end, all he got was silence. Suppressing the anger in his heart, he continued, "Your Majesty, 4 million strings of coins is not a small amount. Now that the 4 barbarians have submitted, our court should reward them with money and resources to win the hearts of the people. Tubo and the Tujue are not stable yet. In my opinion, we should first provide 2 million strings of coins and resources to support the 2 barbarians and let them feel our imperial grace. Also, there are many martial manors in the northern part of Hebei province. If we don't appease them, I'm afraid the people will not be able to live and will change." When the officials in the court heard Zhang Shuo's words, some of them agreed in their hearts. However, they only agreed in their hearts and did not show it on their faces. Li Longji still did not say anything. He looked at Zhang Zhong and waited for Zhang Zhong to refute. Those who knew Li Longji understood at this moment that the emperor did not seem to agree with Zhang Shuo's words. However, they did not know the specific reason. They did not know, but Gao Lisher knew very well that the emperor's thoughts were no longer the same as before. Ever since he knew that there were more powerful people far away in the sea, He no longer cared about the things around him. This was especially true after seeing the spectacular scene of cannons firing at Mount Hua. Why would he care about the troubles around him? He would beat up whoever refused to comply until they submitted. Not to mention 2 million strings of coins, he would not even give them 20,000 strings of coins. Zhang Zhong was also observing the reactions of the officials to see who was on his side and who was on his opposite side. He was quite satisfied with the current result. It was like this when he was in Luoyang. When he proposed something, no one objected. Even if they had different opinions, they would privately discuss it with him. Zhang Zhong also knew that the current Great Tang was not afraid of war. His military factory in Luzhou was constantly producing weapons, and its strength was far above the surrounding countries. However, Zhang Zhong could not say it out loud. He chose another point. Your Majesty, this subject agrees with Lord Zhang's idea of helping the Tufan and the Turkic Khaganate. However, it is better to teach people to fish than to give them a fish. What the Ministry of Works needs to do is to research all kinds of good tools. According to this subject's plan, there will be more good tools in a year's time. At that time, we will give them to the people in other parts of the dynasty to use. Your Majesty, what will we do when the Ministry of Works develops the tools in a year's time? How will the people live this year? Zhang Shua continued to object. If Great Tang does not give out the tools this year, will the people in other places not be able to live? Naturally, they will live as they have in the past year. At this moment, the person who stood up to speak was Li Linfu, a person Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan wanted to scheme against. At this moment, Li Linfu did not know that someone wanted to deal with him, and he did not know that the reason was because they thought that he would one day stand on that position. He felt that he should help Zhang Zhong. Recently, his family's life had been much better, and it was all because of the benefits given by the Zhang family and the Wang family. In addition, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were still young, and their futures were limitless. He had to choose a side as soon as possible. Zhang Shua turned his head and glanced at Li Linfu, remembering him. He turned back and continued, Your Majesty, it is different now. The 4 barbarians have just submitted. If we do not give them benefits, this subject is afraid that they will be resentful and start a rebellion. Your Majesty, this subject thinks that Minister Zhang's Ministry of Work plan is feasible, in my opinion. Another person stood up to support Zhang Zhong. Zhang Shua kept refuting, waiting for people to stand up to support Zhang one after another. When Zhang Shua saw that his people were still indifferent, he was finally discouraged. After the morning court session ended, Zhang Zhong happily returned to the Ministry of Works to do some work. He received 4 million strings of coins, but not all at once. According to his plan, it was divided into 3 phases. The first phase only required 800,000 strings of coins, and he received 1 million strings of coins. After the second phase, he could go to the Ministry of Revenue to ask for more money. Zhang Shua's face was gloomy. He had failed in the confrontation in the court. It was not that he had not failed before, but this time was different. The previous failure was the emperor's final decision, but today's failure was the pressure of the court officials. No one on his side said anything. Was it because they were scared by Fan Yushi? What worried him the most was the emperor's attitude. Although he did not favor any side today, it was still a kind of bias, especially his attitude towards dealing with Fan Yushi before the court session. Zhang Xiaobei had 9 children and caught a registrar of the Ministry of Works. Did he really not ask clearly before convicting him? What happened in the morning court quickly spread to Zhang Xiaobao's ears. Hearing that his father had suppressed Zhang Shua in the first confrontation, Zhang Xiaobao did not plan to stay in the capital any longer. The plan was made by his father himself, and the matters in the court were also settled by his father himself. He did not need others to continue watching. When it was time to leave, he would leave. He was ready to go back and wait for the people he sent out to bring back good news. When he knew that his brother had decided to leave, Xiaobei was relieved. It seemed that he could leave today and did not need to worry about his father coming back to find trouble. After the excitement, Xiaobei was a little reluctant. Leaving the capital meant parting with his parents. His brother had said that he had to stay in Gili province for at least a year before he had the opportunity to be an official in the capital. He had to continue waiting for the family reunion. In the afternoon, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan bid farewell to the elders and their family and led the huge group to Gili province. This time, they did not take the waterway. The Yellow River was already frozen, and Zhang Xiaobao did not plan to spend so much money to blast open the river. The losses outweighed the gains, so he chose to take the land route along the river. Now, there were wide roads on both sides of the Yellow River, and there were countless merchants and pedestrians coming and going. The wheels of the carriage made creaking noises as it moved on the snow that was scattered with sand. After 2 days of continuous travel, Xiao Bei was finally unwilling to follow the large group of people and slowly move about. He suggested that he should go ahead first. Zhang Xiaobao naturally wouldn't object and let the children do as they please. As soon as he left the group, Xiao Bei was like a runaway wild horse. He organized an impromptu meeting with the other 8 people. The main content of the meeting was to continue to carry forward the style of the Children's Protection Team that was not afraid of hardship and fatigue. They had to deeply understand the main spirit of the Children's Protection Team and better reflect the intelligence of the Imperial Censorate. They had to live up to the Emperor's trust and live up to the people of the world. In the meeting, group member Zhang Xiaobei was the first to speak. He praised the previous operation and felt that the Children's Protection Team was an outstanding group. They were a strong group that would not be defeated in the face of any difficulties. However, they also found a problem in the previous operation. That was, group member Zhang Xiaohai did not check the accounts early enough, resulting in insufficient evidence in the Hanyuan Palace. Zhang Xiaohai deeply recognized his own shortcomings and did not make any excuses. He wrote a self-criticism, and the content was that X and Y intersected on the same line. At the same time, he also criticized the members of the Wang Xieyuan regiment for not being good at their job, for not properly listing out the crimes that Fan Yu had committed in the imperial court. The member of the Wang Xieyuan regiment softly admitted his mistake. He said, cold against summer, day against year, Hufu against swing, Danshan against clear water, light rain against Tan Yen. Finally, group member Zhang Xiaobei gave a concluding speech. She had new expectations for the future of the Children's Protection Team. She pointed out that the members of the Children's Protection Team must continue to unite around a group member who could find a place for the Children's Protection Team. The name of the Children's Protection Team must not be shaken until they grow up. They must broaden their horizons and walk out of the world. The meeting ended in a warm and peaceful atmosphere. This was a great meeting. It was a meeting that connected the past and opened the way for the future. This meeting established the foundation for the Children's Protection Team to be able to overcome all kinds of difficulties in the future. Half a month later, Xiao Bei and the others arrived at Zua County and waited there. It was unknown whether they should cross the river and take the land route or try to take the sea route. The frozen sea showed signs of thawing. A few years ago, it was recorded in the booklet that Zua County was a Shaanxin county. It had a large population, rich products, and convenient transportation. Xiao Bei planned to rest here for a few days and train 100 guards at the same time. However, when the group entered the borders of Zua County, Xiao Bei and the others, who already knew that it was a Shaanxin county, were still shocked by how prosperous Zua County was. In front of them was a wide road that could allow 6 carriages to pass at the same time. Countless sheds were built in the fields on both sides of the road, covered with straw. As it was close to evening, wisps of smoke rose from the sheds, and countless people were busy working. Further ahead, there was a murmuring river or floating ice. There was a stone bridge connecting the shore. Outside the bridge, the water was channeled into a canal and slowly poured into a pond. As the sun set, the water sparkled. Small boats were propped up on the canal, making clanging sounds. Everyone worked together and shouted nonstop. When a net in the pond was raised, fat fish struggled and jumped. Further ahead, there were no catchers in the pond. They were dressed in leather and went back and forth into the water. They plucked lotus roots and threw them to the shore. There were children carrying school bags, and picking them up. They piled up into a mountain and laughed nonstop. Aya, who's the county magistrate of Zua County. He's quite capable. The road is wide enough and flat enough. There should be a Kong in the shed with chives planted inside. This place draws water to raise fish and plants lotus roots. The combination is quite reasonable. If you work harder, you can catch up a half of brother and sister. Xiaobei praised when she saw this scene. She commanded the group to continue forward. Zua County had piqued her interest. She wanted to see what would happen after they entered the county. The group increased their speed. When the sky turned dark, they arrived outside Zua County. What they saw was actually a city wall that was about 1 zhang tall. It's really not easy. I see a light over there. Let's go around it. Xiaobei ordered again. After the group went around the place, everyone could clearly see that there were many houses here. They were placed next to each other, and the light was from small flames spurting out from pipes. Xiaobei and the others recognized that this was the effect of burning marsh gas. It seemed that the marsh gas here was used quite well. When they wanted to take another step forward, the group was stopped by someone. Standing outside the fence, they could faintly hear the grunting of pigs and the crowing of chickens coming from inside. Xiaobei nodded. This should be a planned breeding area. She asked someone to explain to the other party. Then, she turned around and entered the city through the city gate. The lanterns of the shops on both sides of the streets flickered. With the help of the light, they could see that there was a canal built with cement on each side of the road. It should be used to drain water. In between the canal and the shops, there was also a sidewalk built with cement bricks. The shortest shop was 2 stories tall. Every time they reached an intersection, there would be a few 3-story buildings standing there. In other places, there would be very few pedestrians at night. However, there was actually an endless stream of people coming and going here. They would either go to the nearby shops to eat or gather in a spacious area to hum a tune. A group of children walked past in a row, reciting the Analects of Confucius. They went straight to a stall that was set up outside. Each of them took out a few new coins and threw them into the money box before starting to eat. The smell of pepper oil wafted over. Xiaobei sniffed and rubbed his stomach. I'm hungry. Let's go and eat. It's my treat. When they walked to the front, they saw that there were a few metal boxes on the stall. Each box was filled with different food. There were tofu, tofu skin, dried tofu, fish balls, crab balls, shrimp balls, bean sprouts, cabbage, sausages, and so on. There were many types of food. Xiaobei and the others were no stranger to such things. At first, it was their older brother who made them for them. Later, it was spread to various places. Line up in 10 rows. Xiaobei took out a piece of paper from her bag and shouted to the 100 guards. Whoosh! 10 rows stood out in an instant. Everyone in the lead had a corresponding metal box in front of them. Then, they picked up a string of notes and passed them to the back. Xiaobei slapped the notes into the money box and said to the stall owner, "Put the money here. Later, count the sticks and count them as meat. In the future, remember to use different sticks to distinguish between meat and vegetables. Otherwise, when there are many people, you won't be able to do anything if you keep staring at others." After speaking to the stall owner, Xiaobei started to eat. The price of meat was double that of vegetables. She didn't have the time to care about this. The stall owner was stunned. He took out the note from a box and was shocked. It was a $500 note. He looked at Xiaobei and the others and knew that he had met the children of a rich family. He smiled and continued to put food into the metal box. Xiaobei, who was eating freely, didn't care if the food was hygienic or not. After all, it was fine after it was boiled in boiling water. When she was half full, Xiaobei remembered something very important. She looked up and asked the stall owner, "Who is the county magistrate of this county?" "It's County Magistrate Yan." The stall owner didn't want to tell a child, but he felt that her status was different, so he said it. "Oh." Xiaobei nodded and asked, "Did he embezzle money?" Chapter 831. Little Bei had a lot of questions. She wanted to know the general economic situation of Zua County and the number of merchants coming and going. However, even after she finished eating, the stall owner went to a nearby restaurant to give her the change. She didn't get any useful information from him. Zua County didn't have any public announcements, so naturally, they wouldn't tell the people how much money was left in the county and where it came from. From this, Little Bay concluded that Zua County's county magistrate Yin had dirty hands. She planned to deal with an official before the arrival of the army. At this time, it was too late, and the children's group was full of children. Some people couldn't help but yawn. Like a contagious disease, one person yawned loudly, and everyone who saw him yawned as well. Little Bay rubbed her sore eyes and smacked her lips. She lowered her head and walked toward an inn with the brightest lights. As she walked, she muttered, "You took advantage of me for one night. I'll deal with you tomorrow." Early the next morning, Little Bay and her group ate breakfast leisurely. They came out of the inn and headed straight for the local yamen. On the way, they attracted the curiosity of many people. A group of children came out of nowhere and didn't look like students from school. At the entrance of the yamen, two yamen runners were looking at the sky in boredom. They wore thick cotton-padded clothes and looked listless. When they saw Xiao Bei and the others, one of the yamen runners' eyes lit up and a smile appeared on his face. He realized that the children who were being protected were about the same age as his children, but they were much more energetic than his children. Just as he was about to ask them kindly, he heard the voice of the smartest girl in the group. "I'm a doctor in the imperial court. I'm an imperial censor," and the yamen runner was only focused on Little Bay's pleasant voice and didn't understand the specific content. When Little Bay glared at him and repeated herself, the yamen runner finally reacted. First, he didn't believe her. "I don't care if you believe it or not. Go in and report to your county magistrate that we're here to check the accounts. Tell him to prepare himself, and don't lie. Go quickly. You can't bear the consequences." Little Bay hated it the most when others treated her like a child. After all, she was an official. The yamen runner did not think that these children were officials. He thought that they were the children of some wealthy family who knew the county magistrate and came to play. He smiled and nodded, then ran inside to report. He didn't go to the signing room, nor did he go to the study, nor did he run to the empty hall. Instead, he went through 2 courtyards and came to the 3rd courtyard at the back. He said to a person wearing coarse clothes with a greasy face, "Sir, please take a rest first. I don't know which family's child is playing outside. Judging from his clothes, he should be from a rich family. Sir, can you go and identify him?" An official with a greasy face was adding coal to the stove under a large iron pot. When he heard the bailiff's words, he straightened his back and let out a sigh. After a while, he relaxed and asked, "What do you mean? Come, give me more." The yamen runner took the shovel and started to work as he replied, "Darren, there's a girl among them. She says she's a doctor or something. She's surrounded by a group of children. She says she wants to check the accounts. I don't know which of Darren's old friends she belongs to." The yamen runner spoke casually, but when the words reached the ears of the official with a greasy face, it was not easy at all. The official, who had an indifferent expression just now, grabbed the yamen runner who was still working and asked nervously, "How many children?" "A group. There's at least 180. Darren, you? How many are best dressed? Think carefully." The official asked again. "Let me think. 7? No, it seems to be 8. That's also not right. Oh, I remember now. It's 9. The group of children outside is in a circle, and in the middle is a square. The girl who spoke just happened to be standing in the middle. Darren, have you guessed who it is?" The yamen runner still did not take it seriously. He thought for a while and wanted to say it. The official staggered, and his face immediately turned pale. He muttered, "It's over. They've finally set their sights on me. Sigh. If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have chosen you a county magistrate. Add coal, don't stop. I admit it." Darren, what are you?" The yamen runner was startled. He did not understand why the official, who is usually very indifferent to everything, would be so evil today. "No, nothing. That girl is a traditional Chinese physician. You don't know. This road leads to Jili province and the capital. I've been feeling uneasy recently, but I never thought that it would happen to them." County Magistrate Yin muttered, waved his hand, and walked out with his back hunched. He knew who had come and thought of the consequences. He was greedy. He was really greedy. If another official came to investigate, he might have heard the news in advance and made some preparations. There would not be too big of a problem. But who would have thought that it was the 9 children of the Zhang family and the Wang family who came? The news had just come from the capital along the road, but they had already arrived. When County Magistrate Yin moved to the entrance of the yamen with his legs that had almost lost all strength, Xiao Bei was using a colored pen to paint the edge of the door. He stepped on a big stone and seemed to be using a lot of effort. County Magistrate Yin saw the goldfish bag hanging from the waist of Xiao Bei and the others. He looked at the group of children and confirmed that there was no doubt. Darren, I am County Magistrate Yin, Head Foreman Yin. I didn't know you were coming and did not welcome you. Please forgive me. As he spoke, Foreman Yin no longer thought about bribery or fraud. He waited for the final judgment. Xiao Bei spent a lot of effort to paint the parts of the drum where the paint had peeled off bright red. He jumped down from the stone and shook his hands vigorously. He looked at Foreman Yin with dissatisfaction and said, County Magistrate Yin, why is this drum so high? Do you want to tire the person playing the drum to death? That old man is so old. How can he beat it? Yes, I will order someone to lower the height. Foreman Yin agreed. He stopped talking and waited there. Xiao Bei rubbed his arms and looked at Foreman Yin. He said unhappily, Why are you standing outside? Why don't you invite us in? Yes, we'll go in now. Please. I will immediately have someone bring the accounts. Foreman Yin gritted his teeth and hoped that his attitude was better. The child was easy to coax. If he admitted his mistake, he could be dealt with lightly. He didn't want to lose his position. He planned to continue being greedy. Otherwise, his plan would not be able to succeed. Xiao Bei was invited in. He humphed as a sign of agreement. Foreman Yin ordered someone to bring the accounts. After entering the yamen, Xiao Bei didn't follow Foreman Yin's instructions to rest in the living room. Instead, he walked straight to the back. As he walked, he said, I heard that your yamen is always making a lot of noise. Let me see what you're playing at. Xiao Bei, look behind you. It's smoky. Xiao Zhu, who was the most observant, pulled Xiao Bei and pointed to the sky. Xiao Bei looked up. Of course, it wasn't the smoke from the kitchen. He listened carefully. There was also a rumbling sound. Without another word, he rushed inside. The group of children followed closely behind. Foreman Yan's face was full of bitterness. He was afraid that Xiao Bei and the others would take a fancy to his things and take them as toys. Those were the fruits of his hard work. He wanted to stop them, but he didn't dare. When Xiao Bei and the others entered the third courtyard, the obedient yamen runners were still sending coal into the stove. This thing is fun. It's so big. Brother, don't you think it looks a little familiar? Xiao Bei saw the jar that was almost as tall as the house. He suddenly felt that it looked familiar. It does look familiar, Xiao Yuan said. I'm not asking you. I'm asking my brother. Xiao Bei didn't give him any face. Xiao Hao was also looking at the thing. He nodded. It looks familiar. Isn't this the steam engine that brother and sister asked Foreman Yin to research? They haven't finished researching it yet. I didn't expect to see one here. I wonder how far they've come. At this time, someone had already brought the county's account book and handed it to Foreman Yin. Foreman Yin squeezed the thin account book and handed it to Xiao Bei helplessly. Although the account book was thin, it was real. There were also fake ones. If it were another official checking, Foreman Yin would take out the fake ones. Even if the other party really checked seriously, they would have to spend a lot of effort to find the problem. Moreover, it would only be a small problem. Today, he was facing Xiao Bei and the others. Craftsman Yin didn't plan on taking out a fake account book, nor did he dare to. Otherwise, this group of little fellows would tire themselves out from checking the account book. If they couldn't find any problems in the end and started crying, Zhang Xiaobao would definitely be angry. When he came to investigate, it wouldn't be so simple. It was better to be straightforward. In any case, if they were greedy and bad ideas were found by the 9 people, they wouldn't be able to count on any luck. What is this? Xiao Bei looked at the thin account book and asked. It's an account book. It records the county's income and expenses this year, as well as the portion that I spent on myself. Foreman Yin sighed and introduced. Oh, let me see. Xiaobei opened the account book as she spoke. She didn't recognize some of the words, but fortunately, she knew the key numbers. After flipping through 2 pages, she exclaimed, "Wow. Zhua County's tax income reached 820,000 strings of cash this year. How did you do it? How much was it last year?" I just figured out a way to do it after hearing about Jili Province and Boishin County from my younger brother. In the first half of last year, it was 140,000 strings of cash, and in the second half, it was 60,000 strings of cash. I invested all the money into breeding. Naturally, this year's harvest was more. Foreman Yin was very proud of the county's income. In 1.5 years, the amount had quadrupled. Xiaobei was very surprised. If this result was achieved by her brother or sister, it wouldn't be a big deal. However, an ordinary official could do it, so it was definitely different. Then how much did you report? 760,000 strings of cash, Foreman Yin answered honestly. Xiaobei nodded. So you took a full 60,000 strings of cash? That's the entire revenue for the second half of last year, right? Yes. What did you do with the money? Xiaobei didn't feel any sense of accomplishment when Foreman Yin admitted to it right away. Instead, she was more interested in what Foreman Yin did with the money he took. Foreman Yin pointed at the big thing in front of him. I'll do this. A few broke, and this is the last one. I'm about to succeed. Can you give me a few days? Okay. This big thing only cost 60,000 strings of cash. Xiaobei started to spin around the steaming thing. She returned the account book to Foreman Yin and stopped paying attention to it. After spinning around a few times, Xiaobei stopped and turned to ask the nervous Foreman Yin, "What can this thing do? Can be put on the car and let the car move on its own. Can be put on the boat and let the boat move on its own. Can it help generate electricity and turn on the lights? Can it be put on the lathe to help make tools?" Foreman Yan's eyes lit up with every question Xiaobei asked. After Xiaobei finished asking, Foreman Yan nodded at Xiaobei as if he had found a confidant. "Then why isn't it moving? Is there a switch or something? Hurry up and turn it on. Don't hold it until it explodes." Xiaobei suddenly thought of a very important question. Foreman Yin was stunned. Wei Wei rushed to the round thing and picked up a stick from the ground. She stuck it into the air and started to spin it. Then she shouted at the yamen runner who was still stupidly adding coal. Stop adding coal." Only then did the yamen runner throw down the shovel and wipe the sweat off his forehead. Following Foreman Yan's actions, more steam came out. Then the group saw the rods connected to the pot start to move up and down. A wheel on the other side also started to spin. Xiaobei and the rest widened their eyes when they saw this scene. They could always see the craftsmen at home working. They knew that as long as something could move, it could be turned in different directions. The most common example was a washing machine. Yay! Xiaobei happily rushed in front of Craftsman Yan. He reached out to grab Craftsman Yan's hand and slapped it. He said to Craftsman Yan, "County Magistrate Yan, we did it. We did it. The steam engine is out. How did you seal the place? Did you use gum?" Craftsman Yan was also dazed by the joy. He picked up Xiaobei and kissed him hard, saying, "No need for gum. Just seal it with iron. Find a piece of iron that is tough and make it into a piece. Just press it on the key points. If there are any leaks, use another type of glue." "Yes, you're so smart. Let's go to the best restaurant in the county to celebrate. We'll tell my brother and sister later." Xiaobei hugged Foreman Yan with one hand and waved his other hand excitedly. Foreman Yan nodded and walked out with Xiaobei in his arms. When he reached the front hall, he suddenly stopped. Only then did he remember what they were doing. "Let's go. The best restaurant. My treat." Xiaobei was still wondering why they stopped. "This." Foreman Yin put Xiaobei down and pointed to the hall. "Lord Zhang, aren't you here to check the accounts?" "Huh? Check the accounts? Ah, I'm done. I know everything." Xiaobei only reacted after being reminded. Then are you going to impeach me?" Foreman Yin said what he didn't want to say the most. "What impeach? The county's accounts are clear. The local economy is prosperous, and Lord Yin deserves the most credit. If there are more officials like Lord Yin in our court, Why should we worry about the people not being able to live and work in peace? Xiao Yuan, help me draft a memorial and have someone send it to my brother first. When the time comes, send it to the capital. If Lord Yin doesn't reward such a good official, how can we spread the world? Xiaobei's righteous appearance stunned Foreman Yin. In a daze, he shook his head and asked, "Then what about the 60,000 strings of cash?" 60,000 strings of cash? Which 60,000 strings of cash? Oh, it's the special department fee for the Ministry of Works to research the steam engine that Lord Yin mentioned. Yes, it's a bit low. We should increase the investment. A person of Lord Yan's insight can't lose his determination to continue research because of money. Xiaobei raised his hand to pat Foreman Yan's shoulder, but found the height difference. He could only pat Foreman Yan's leg to show encouragement. Foreman Yan stood there and pondered for a while. He finally understood Xiaobei's words. Not only did he not pursue the matter of his corruption, but he also made it sound so righteous. It seemed that everything was because of the steam engine. Xiaobei didn't care what Foreman Yin thought. There was finally a steam engine. His family hadn't developed it yet. His brother and sister only gave him an idea and didn't have the time to personally guide him. Now that it was done, his brother and sister would definitely be very happy. Thinking that this joyous matter could allow him to drink a small cup of wine, he excitedly pulled Foreman Yin outside. "Hurry and find a good restaurant. I brought some wine from my collection. I'll treat you to a cup." Foreman Yin followed Xiaobei out. He didn't care about the grease on his face. He pulled a bailiff over to give him directions and headed towards the restaurant closest to them. He wouldn't foolishly disagree with Xiaobei's words. He managed to escape a calamity. It was still early in the morning, so it wasn't time for lunch yet. There weren't many people in the restaurant, and there wasn't a single person on the third floor. A group of people rushed up and occupied the entire third floor. They removed the partition screens and opened the doors to the rooms. They ordered a table full of dishes. Xiaobei had someone bring out the wine he brought with him. He personally poured a cup for Foreman Yin and a small cup for himself. He raised his cup and shouted, "For the birth of the steam engine, let's have a small sip. Lord Yin, do as you please. Later, tell us how you came up with the idea of making this steam engine." Everyone else was eating. Only Xiao Yuan drank a sip with him and continued to write the memorial. He had fewer mistakes than Xiaobei. When Foreman Yin, who hadn't eaten anything since he woke up in the middle of the night to figure out the final steps of the steam engine, was about 30% full and began to talk about his original idea, Xiao Yuan finished writing the letter, blew it dry, and handed it to Xiaobei. Xiaobei crumpled the letter into a ball and threw it out of the window. "Send this memorial to my brother as fast as you can. Then pass it to General Gao and have the Ministry of Works send someone here." He turned around and was about to listen to the story when he saw Foreman Yan's confused expression. He smiled and explained, "It was for the person my brother sent. I didn't know about it before, but I accidentally found out. I just happened to help deliver the letter." Foreman Yin nodded. That was right. If a group of children didn't have anyone to protect them, it was easy for them to get into trouble when they encountered danger. No wonder they dared to barge into the yamen. If he really wanted to detain them, he would have been shot to death long ago. The people sent by the Zhang family and the Wang family were definitely not ordinary people. There might be a gun aimed at him from somewhere outside the window. Fortunately, he wasn't too ambitious. Xiaohai guessed what Foreman Yin was thinking and comforted him. "Don't worry, they won't do anything to good people. Even if you didn't make the steam engine, they won't arrest you. Brother and sister will at most make you spit out the money you coveted. When your term ends, they will think of a way to reward you with more money." Xiaohai's words confused Foreman Yin again. Xiaobei echoed, That's right. They won't arrest you. The county's income has more than doubled, so it's reasonable to be a little greedy. We can see that the people in the county are living very well. No one has sounded the drum for a long time, which means you're doing a good job as the county magistrate. It's inevitable for people to make mistakes. We can't just kill a capable official. The other children nodded. They had been with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan for a long time. They knew how their brother and sister did things, so they tried their best to imitate them. Foreman Yin looked at the children, and his eyes turned red. He was touched. He was finally recognized. Although it was only by a group of children, it was more precious than being recognized by adults. He didn't know how these 9 children were taught. They spoke like adults. Perhaps with his performance, his younger brother would have a better life. Xiao Bei peeled the salted prawns cooked with fresh prawns and took a sip of wine. He smacked his lips and said to Foreman Yin, "Tell me, how did you think of running the county well? Where did you learn how to make the steam engine?" "I have a younger brother, also surnamed Yin. He is the county magistrate of Yiying County in Jili Province. He was the one who told me about the Zhang family and Wang family's method. I changed it a little and used it in our county. I didn't expect it to be so useful. Steam engine is a good name. My father was a carpenter, and so was my grandfather. By the time my younger brother and I reached an official position, I still liked to make all kinds of things. Later, when I was waiting for an official position in the capital, a classmate of mine was assigned to the Ministry of Works. He knew that I liked to make things, so he gave me a small booklet to read. After reading that booklet, I realized that there was such a vast world. 2 years ago, I saw a washing machine and electric light in a rich family's house. I began to think about it. One day, when I was making something, I found that the steam in it can move the small model of the wind generator. Then I thought, whether it is wind power or water power, they're all limited by the environment. Is there a way to get rid of the environmental restrictions? So I began to think about it from the perspective of steam. Then I came up with that steam engine. Foreman Yin didn't care about the age of the audience. He finally found a place to vent the things that had been bottled up in his heart for a long time. He began to tell Xiao Bei and the others some of his stories. "It seems like you can't be a county magistrate anymore. You can either come to our family or go to the Ministry of Works. Otherwise, it would be a pity," Xie Yuan said to Foreman Yin. Chapter 832. The winter snow had just melted, and the damp air on the ground was blown by the wind, chilling people to the bone. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan sat in the carriage and slowly moved forward with the group. The sound of hooves echoed around them. It will take 5 years to migrate the people from the 2 places in batches. While the Tang Empire is strong and prosperous, we have to act early. Even if we have to deceive them, we have to lure the Tubo and Turkic people here. Zhang Xiaobao added a piece of smokeless charcoal to the stove in the carriage and put a teapot on it. He looked at the bleak scenery of early spring through the window and said. Wang Wan, who was sitting opposite him, put down the information that had just been sent by Lu Zhou and agreed. "I think so too. The problem of ethnic groups is the most difficult problem to solve. If we really don't care about those 2 places, there might be a situation where we can't get rid of them. There will always be some tribal rulers who are unwilling to give up the little power in their hands. They know that harmony can play a positive role in promoting the lives of the people, but they just have to look for trouble. They even use the lies of their status and religion to brainwash the people under their rule." Zhang Xiaobao and Wei Wei nodded. They looked at the information in Wang Wan's hand and asked, "What does it say?" "Nothing much. Our arsenal is still as stable as ever. It's just that the business of the shipyard has been getting better and better recently. Ever since the merchants from the east of Jiangnan came back from afar and made a fortune, more people are thinking about ordering more ships from the shipyard. They also want to go out and look for the Golden Road." Wang Wan shook the paper in her hand and introduced it to Zhang Xiaobao with a smile. Zhang Xiaobao also smiled and said, "That's good news. What's that again?" "Anyway, it's a very powerful small country. Their navy is very powerful. It's called the Invincible Fleet. Let's learn from them." "Don't talk nonsense if you don't know. The Invincible Fleet of Spain lost in the end to the pirate group. I'm afraid that if there are many merchants who go out to sea, some will not explore on their own. Instead, they will become pirates and hide to rob people who come back from sea. That will be a mess." As Wang Wan spoke, she looked at the kettle on the stove. She picked it up and poured out some of the water. Then, she sat back down and began to prepare the tea leaves. "Anyway, that's how it is. The loser isn't invincible. I'm talking about the winner. Even if it's chaotic, it won't be chaotic. I have a trick up my sleeve. I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. 1 sheep is the same as driving away 2 sheep. What analogy? What a mess. Tell me, how do we deal with our own people attacking each other? Does it say that we'll annihilate their entire family once we find out? Wang Wan picked up the tea balls one by one and knocked on the teacup with her hand. She began to be curious again. Zhang Xiaobao didn't immediately voice his thoughts. He rolled down the glass and allowed the cold wind to blow. After shivering, he opened his mouth. I'm thinking that we should let our people have a little more courage. Don't let people say that there is no China behind the mountains. There has never been peace in this world. The so-called peace is not between two or a few people restraining each other. It's just a temporary unification. While we're still around, we should fight as much as we can. In fact, sometimes I wonder if I'm an evil person. In the past, I always hoped that one day the sea would suddenly collapse and sink a certain country into the water, just like the Yatlan civilization. Wang Wan leaned back lazily to attract Zhang Xiaobao's gaze and asked, "You're talking about Japan, right?" Zhang Xiaobao carefully looked at Wang Wan and said in puzzlement, "I didn't realize that the girl beside me has become a woman. If this figure is taken out, wouldn't it be called an S shape? Come, let me hug you." Wang Wan curled her lips and didn't respond to Zhang Xiaobao's words. Zhang Xiaobao didn't mind and continued, "I've never taken Japan seriously. I admit that they are developing well, but that small place is destined to be unable to achieve great things. I'm planning to let Li Longji stabilize and expand at the same time. He has to fight hard like the Yuan dynasty and develop the economy like the Song dynasty. I always hear that the Song dynasty is good, but didn't it still fail?" What you said about there being no China behind the mountains is actually referring to the Song dynasty and the Southern Song dynasty. Many people jumped off the cliff. When I was in Beijing, my mother asked me to discuss the engagement with you. She said that it should be decided by next year at the latest. You should think of a way to reject it. Why should I reject it? It's not like we're getting married or engaged. It should be decided first. In fact, many rich families already have mothers at your age. I'm afraid that you will bully and be a hooligan at night after the engagement. Now that there is no crime of being a hooligan, the engagement is settled. Oh, I remember something. When some of the merchants become pirates, we will form a special maritime patrol team. One will train the Navy, one will help the merchants to safely plunder resources from other places, and one will be able to beat people up as we wish. Just like the United States, we can openly bully people. Zhang Xiaobao did have the intention to take advantage of her, but only a little. Wang Wan didn't discuss the engagement anymore. She followed Zhang Xiaobao's words and said, "A pitiful person must have a hateful side. The small countries that are bullied are not wronged at all. They want others to help them, but they don't want to take sides. No one is a fool. Why should they help others for free? What I am worried about is that as we expand, there will be colonization on many islands, and then they will start to become independent. This is a problem, but unfortunately, I can't do anything about it. There will always be some people who want to be the emperor, even if it's a small emperor. This is called better to be the head of a chicken than the back of a cow. To solve this problem, the best way is to develop technology and have enough military power. If anyone dares to become independent, we will fight them within a day. When we have nothing to do, we will call back the people in various places. Who knows? Zhang Xiaobao didn't have any solution to this problem. It could be said that there was no solution. At this time, the person in charge of delivering the message to Zhang Xiaobao came over and handed the balled-up memorial to Zhang Xiaobao. When he opened it, Zhang Xiaobao was happy. "Come look, our Xiaobei has done another big thing. Zua County's county magistrate, Yin, is actually an inventor. He made the steam engine. Comrade Xiao Yin, who is the county magistrate of Yiying County in Jili Province, is his younger brother." As he spoke, Zhang Xiaobao handed the letter over. Wang Wan also smiled after reading it. "Xiaobei and the others are really lucky. What are you going to do with Craftsman Yin? We can't let him continue to be a county magistrate. That would be a waste of his talent. Yes, if he can't be a county magistrate, he could be transferred to Jili Province to reunite with his younger brother. Arrange a judge position for him and let him study together with Craftsman Yin. The steam engine is a small matter. Even without him, we can still make it. The key is this person's idea is very rare. Come, give the order. Hurry up. Zhang Xiaobao wasn't willing to give such a talent to others. If he could make the steam engine today, he might be able to make the diesel engine tomorrow. The speed of the team suddenly increased. After rushing for 6 days, they finally arrived at Zhua County. They saw craftsman Yin, who was working with Xiao Bei and the others to improve the steam engine. Xiao Bei was very reserved and explained her advanced theory of using the steam engine to generate electricity and then use electricity to boil water. She received Zhang Xiaobao's affirmation and praise. Craftsman Yin was much more restrained. He knew that his fate was no longer in his control. He hoped that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were really as open-minded as Xiao Bei and the others said. Zhang Xiaobao was very kind. He naturally wouldn't let go of such a great talent. After discussing with Craftsman Yin for a long time, he tricked Craftsman Yin into agreeing to go to Jili province to develop. The matter of the transfer was also handled by Zhang Xiaobao. After 2 days, the team continued their journey under Craftsman Yin's expectations. After a month, Craftsman Yin could go to Jili province. After telling a few stories to his younger brother and sister as a reward, the team went all the way to the seaside. At this time, the sea had already been unfrozen. There was no ice at all. Only the bone-chilling wind was blowing. The group boarded the boat and headed in the direction of Jili province. The boat traveled for 2 days. Just as they were about to reach their destination, a boat came in front of them. The people on the boat hurriedly found Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Little young master, little miss, there's news from the commander-in-chief's manor of Heishui, Royal Prince Tang, and has been attacking for a long time and is in urgent need of reinforcements. The person reported to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Wang Wan's eyes widened. There's so many people there, and they still can't defeat him? It seems like they want me to go. Chapter 833. When Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao returned to the prefecture of Jili State, they saw the detailed information sent back by Li Sun. Although it was called information, it was actually a nagging letter. Li Sun complained a lot in the letter. First of all, he complained that he did not have a good New Year. He had been leading the army outside. It was very cold and very uncomfortable. Then he complained about the supply difficulties. The people who went to help transport from Jili State could support the consumption of the army in the beginning, but as the army continued to advance, the inconvenience became obvious. Often, when the army advanced dozens of miles, the supply team behind would need a few days to send the follow-up supplies, which greatly affected the mobility of the army. Then he said that the people of the Blackwater Commandery were cunning. They did not confront him head-on, but ran all the way back and took all the people with them. Before the new year, when they were about to catch up, they had to give up because of a heavy snow, which allowed the people of the Blackwater Commandery to effectively gather. More importantly, many people who were taken from Shuzhou were sick and needed people to take care of them. The people who were taken from Jili State did not have a good time either. In the beginning, there was no problem. It seemed that they had adapted to the cold environment. However, as they fought on the snowy ground for a long time, many people had frostbite. In short, the Blackwater Commandery was not a place where people could fight. They needed support. They hoped that Wang Wan, who was like a god of war, could show her power again. After reading the letter, Zhang Xiaobao smiled and said to Wang Wan, "It seems that Li Sun encountered the tactic of scorched earth and cleared field. In addition, the army was not adapted to the cold climate for a long time, so he was beaten silly." Wang Wan nodded and agreed. She said, "It seems that our adaptive training in Jili State is still not enough. I am very worried about the people who went to North America. I don't know if they can survive. There is no news back yet. Li Sun is really too much. He only knows how to complain. He doesn't know how to clearly write down the tactics of the enemy. It makes it difficult for me to judge what the enemy's general is planning. How else could he have fought? When winter comes, he should have used the fastest speed to infiltrate the enemy. I think Li Sun wanted fewer people to die and wanted to use the momentum of the army to crush the enemy. In the end, the enemy didn't compromise and used all the available circumstances to teach Li Sun a lesson. The mountains there are high and the forests are dense. There should be a lot of primeval forests. Fortunately, we didn't give him a rifle unit this time. Otherwise, it would be easy for someone to set up an ambush and steal the rifle. It's so cold that he can't even pull the trigger. Zhang Xiaobao also analyzed the situation. Time and place were on the opponent's side. As for the people, both sides seemed to be about the same. Wang Wan put down the letter in her hand. After thinking for a while, she said, "We should have Li Sun stop. Withdraw the army and replace it with a new one. Right now, the morale of the more than 20,000 troops is as low as it can be. The Blackwater Commander-in-Chief's mansion is large. We can't expect to take it down in a short time." After Wang Wan made the decision, she quickly sent someone to deliver the letter to Li Sun. It was estimated that it would take at least a month for the letter to arrive. There was no other way now. Zhang Xiaobao also agreed with Li Sun's proposal to withdraw the army. He added, "The gunboats can't go forward to reinforce from the sea because of the ice over there. Shouldn't we use them? I wonder if Shui Yun can go with them. It's best if she can send back the news as soon as possible." Perhaps because she heard Zhang Xiaobao's call, Shui Yun flew back the next day. Seeing Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan appear to be very intimate and eating a meal of beef, she reluctantly left with Wang Wan's order. A gust of cold wind blew, causing Li Sun to involuntarily shiver. He put down his binoculars and gently rubbed his face that was covered in wounds from the wind. He gritted his teeth in pain and cursed, "Motherfucker, this group of people don't have any backbone at all. Are they still men? If they have the guts, come up and fight with blades and guns. They only know how to hide." At this time, Li Sun's adjutant, who was responsible for giving advice, didn't say a word. He was also beaten to a pulp by the other side. As long as this side formed a large scale, the other side would immediately retreat. Relying on their familiarity with the terrain, their speed was very fast. Every time they looked like they were about to be surrounded, they would find that the other side had disappeared between heaven and earth. Li Sun gritted his teeth and turned to ask the adjutant, "Tell me, how do we fight this battle? A few days ago, we managed to surround them with great difficulty and surrounded them on a mountain. Just as we were preparing to attack after resting for a while. In the end, after one night, they actually turned into a city. We trapped them for a few days for nothing and let them run away again." When the adjutant heard Li Sun's words, he really wanted to say, "If you didn't insist on giving the enemy a chance to live that day, how could they have found a chance to escape if we surrounded them with only one person left? The people lying in ambush wouldn't have had time to move at all." Thinking this in his heart, the adjutant didn't dare to say it out loud. He could only go along with Li Sun's words and say, "Your Highness, I think they're not having a good time now. At least they've been running and never dared to confront us directly. They've eaten almost all of their food and other things. As for heating without a house, how can they not be cold?" Li Sun didn't say anything. He thought the adjutant was talking nonsense. Who wouldn't be cold? He was cold too. After chasing for so long, how could there be a fixed house to stay in? Living in a tent, damp and cold, there was no way to fight this battle. The adjutant continued, "Your Highness, I think it's better to retreat first. Now that it's the beginning of spring, they must also need spring plowing. Let's give them the place first and let them feel safe to return to spring plowing. When they've tidied up the land and planted the seeds, we'll make a comeback. Your Highness, think about it. They've spent so much effort to plant the seeds, so it's impossible for them to give up so easily. If we attack again, they'll definitely want to fight us to the death. Now we're not afraid of fighting, but we're afraid that they'll run away. If they still run away, we'll destroy their land." Good idea. The important thing is to cut off their hope of survival. They'll definitely go crazy. Your idea is good. Retreat. But if I retreat, won't I be laughed at when I go back? What should I say to the emperor? Spring? Why don't I see any signs of spring? It's still cold when it should be. Li Sun didn't want to fight anymore. He was physically and mentally exhausted. Now he was in a dilemma. He couldn't enter because the Blackwater Commander-in-Chief's mansion was too big. He couldn't retreat even if he chased after them. Everyone knew that this was the Emperor's sword competition on Mount Hua. The people of the Blackwater Commander-in-Chief's mansion wanted to wipe them out. If he didn't submit to such an obvious provocation, Where would the national prestige be? What's more, this was his first battle. If he ran away with his tail between his legs, wouldn't the other brothers laugh at him? The adjutant might not be able to fight in such an environment, but he had a good grasp of human nature. At first glance, he knew what Li Sun was thinking, so he gave him an idea. Your Highness, we're not retreating. In fact, this is called a strategic shift. When Adjutant Wang was at the front line of Jinchuan, he also shifted a lot. Didn't he win in the end? A good general who only knows to move forward is not a good general. Sometimes it takes more courage to temporarily make concessions that are helpful to the overall situation. Li Sun liked to hear this. He squinted his eyes and kept nodding. He said to the adjutant, "Since you insist on shifting, I'll listen to you this time. Pass down my order. The front team will change to the rear team. Shift. Pay attention to maintaining the formation. Don't let them counterattack." The adjutant was stunned and looked helpless. He had to take the responsibility, but he didn't help to win the battle, so he had to do this. With Li Sun's order, the troops began to retreat. It was easy to say, but it couldn't be done in a short time, and it was impossible to retreat to Jili in one breath. They could only retreat to the Bohai Commander-in-Chief's mansion first. Li Sun was very reluctant to go there. He was afraid that if he met the people of the Bohai Commander-in-Chief's mansion, they might learn from the Blackwater Commander-in-Chief's mansion and make trouble. It would be really difficult to deal with them. The Tang army retreated when its morale was at its lowest. As in all wars, the people of the Blackwater Commander-in-Chief's mansion would not give up such an opportunity to chase. Although they did not engage in a large-scale battle, the harassment of the small groups of troops never stopped. Traps, night attacks, and all the tricks that could be used were used, making it very difficult for the troops that Li Sun sent to bring up the rear. Li Sun could hear the casualties from the rear every day. Not many people died, but they were always dying. He was very worried that the troops at the rear would retreat when they had no morale. In that case, he didn't know how many people would die. After retreating for a few more days, what Li Sun was worried about did not happen. Instead, there was a turning point. The 2,000 people left behind to stay behind actually built a temporary camp in an open place. They learned from the people of the Blackwater Commander-in-Chief's mansion that they also poured water into ice and were resting. Your Highness, the 2,000 people at the rear seemed to want to counterattack. One morning before breakfast, the army officer came to Li Sun's tent and said to Li Sun. Li Sun was stunned and asked puzzledly, "Do they want to fight to the death?" "That won't do. 2,000 people are not a small number. If they die, how can I explain it to Xiao Bao? They are from Jili province." The army officer shook his head and replied, "Your Highness, I don't know whether they want to fight to the death or not." They didn't continue to send back messages as before. Instead, the people in charge of receiving them saw a lot of smoke rising there. I thought they wanted to stay there for a long time and wait for a chance to counterattack. Hearing the army officer's words, Li Sun was more confused. I don't seem to have given such an order, right? Aren't they messing around? Stay? With what? The food left for them is enough for them to eat for a few days. Now, they're almost finished. Do they want to starve themselves to death? Find a way to get in touch with them. The more Li Sun thought about it, the angrier he got. They didn't listen to his order. Could it be that he couldn't command the people from Jili province after fighting such a depressing battle? While they were talking, a messenger rushed in from outside. He looked anxious and reported to Li Sun, "Your Highness, bad news. Your Highness, there is smoke rising there." "I know. Isn't it just the troops at the rear?" Li Sun said disapprovingly. Yes. "But that smoke, Your Highness, you'd better go and see for yourself." The messenger wanted to explain, but suddenly gave up. It was only a few steps away. He could see the situation over there as soon as he walked out of the tent. "Let's go and see." Li Sun, who was puzzled, walked out of the tent. At this moment, there were many people standing outside. They were all looking towards the north. The first thing Li Sun felt when he came out was that it was a cloudy day. When he followed the others' gazes, he was frightened. He saw that in the north, there was thick smoke that covered the sky. It was not smoke at all. It was smoke that would only appear when there was a big fire. At this time, The wind was blowing towards the north and a little towards the west. The smoke was also slanting towards the northwest. After being stunned for a while, Li Sun shook his head hard and shouted, "Who knows what's going on? What happened over there?" Everyone was at a loss. Standing beside Li Sun, Lu Jun muttered, "It turns out that a big fire can be ignited in such a cold time. Even snow can't stop the spread of the fire." Li Sun nodded. It was also the first time he thought that such a big fire could be ignited. He suddenly had an idea that he didn't want to believe. He said to Lu Jun, "Could it be that the people from the Blackwater Commandery saw that we were guarding the rear, so they got a lot of things to ignite the fire and wanted to burn them to death? That's 2,000 people." The army officer was speechless for a moment. His eyes were filled with fear, and his body was trembling slightly. He seemed to be imagining the scene of those 2,000 people being burned alive. He had a painful expression on his face. Those were the elite troops of Geely State. Quickly think of a way for me to contact them and ask them to retreat. Retreat quickly. We should retreat too. If the wind changes direction, it will be troublesome." Li Sun quivered and shouted to the people around him. The soldiers around him shook their heads helplessly. How could they contact them? Who wouldn't die if they went there? At the moment when everyone was at a loss and helpless, a clear eagle cry suddenly sounded in the sky. Everyone couldn't help but look up. They saw a snow-white eagle hovering in the sky with its wings open. Then it began to dive toward the ground. When Lu Jun saw the eagle, the first thing that came to his mind was to shoot it down. He shouted, "Quickly, shoot it down so as not to hurt His Highness." After shouting, he found that many people didn't move. Only a few people pulled their bows. Before they could aim, Li Sun's voice came. "Put down your bows. If you shoot it, you won't live. Shuiyun, I'm here. Shuiyun, come down." The eagle in the sky responded with a cry. As expected, it flew down toward Li Sun. It hovered at a low altitude. Seeing no danger, it landed on the tent and scratched a few holes in it. "Your Highness, this eagle..." Lu Jun had never seen Shuiyun before. He didn't know what it did. "Hee, this is Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's treasure. I didn't expect it to come here. Quickly, have someone prepare some food. I want raw meat." Li Sun's mood suddenly improved a lot because of Shuiyun's arrival. He rubbed his hands together and came under the tent. He looked up at Shuiyun and said, "Where did you come from? Xiao Bao and Cuckoo have a message?" Shuiyun nodded to Li Sun under the shocked gazes of the soldiers who had never seen it before. Then it raised one of its wings and pointed to the sea. It let out a short cry. "From the sea? Are you with the fleet? Are you sending me a message?" Li Sun picked up a thick wooden stick from the ground and put it on his shoulder. Shuiyun nodded again. It opened and closed its wings and flew to Li Sun's wooden stick. It raised one of its claws and let Li Sun take something down. Lu Jun was dumbfounded. He muttered, "Motherfucker, where did this goblin come from? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan are already monsters. I can't believe they can raise an eagle like this." Shuiyun turned its head and glanced at Lu Jun obviously. It had heard Lu Jun's words and expressed its dissatisfaction. "Ha ha!" Li Sun laughed, looking very happy. He said to Lu Jun, "We only have one Shuiyun in the world. This is good. As long as there is news, there will be a way. I don't know if the news came directly from the fleet or from somewhere else." While they were talking, Li Sun had already taken off the bamboo tube tied to Shuiyun's leg. He also helped Shuiyun massage it to relax. It was uncomfortable to be tied for a long time. When Li Sun stood up and opened the letter, someone had already brought the wild animals that had just been killed to him. They cut them into strips and put them on the ground. They wanted to see how Shuiyun would eat them. However, Shuiyun didn't move at all. It only stared at the person who brought the meat. "All right, let's do it this way. Those who should withdraw, withdraw, and those who should stay, stay. What's there to be afraid of burning the forest? As long as we can disrupt the enemy's deployment in the Blackwater Commander-in-Chief's office, everything will be worth it. Cuckoo is indeed Cuckoo. She can command from so far away." After reading the letter, Li Sun suddenly seemed to change into a different person. He went from a defeated general to a victorious general. Lu Jun really wanted to see what was written in the letter. Seeing that Li Sun didn't give it to him, he had to change the topic. He pointed to the meat on the ground and asked, "Your Highness, does this eagle not like to eat venison? It's called yin shui. It's not that it doesn't like to eat it, but it's afraid of being poisoned. Shuiyun, don't worry. Eat it. If someone dares to poison it, I'll kill his whole family." Li Sun explained to Lu Jun and made a promise to Shuiyun. Shuiyun shook its head and still didn't eat it. Obviously, it didn't believe Li Sun's promise. "Go, get a live one." Li Sun had to give another order. This time, a very thin rabbit was sent. It might have been hungry in the winter. Li Sun personally cut off strips of meat. Only then did Shuiyun cooperate and eat it. Lu Jun looked at Shuiyun enviously and asked Li Sun, "Your Highness, what are we going to do next?" "Most of the troops will retreat. Leave 2,000 people here and don't move. Leave as many supplies as possible. Then follow orders. This time, I'll show them the power of our Tang army." Li Sun took out the letter he had just put away with a sneaky smile. "You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.